Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Tuscaloosa, mañana.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this one.
I am too. I'm very, very...
Good guys versus the bad guys?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, one team doesn't have a guy that had signed an NBA contract. Right. Was on the NBA, you know. So, and one team does. Yeah, I think this game tomorrow night is kind of the Rosetta Stone for the season. You know, if you can go in and win it at Alabama, there'll be no more doubters. I don't think there's a lot of doubters anymore. A lot of people have come around, but there's always a few more.
Here's my thing.
Alabama,
look, I understand that in the coaches poll, A&M's 25, and I guess they weren't in the AP. They weren't ranked. I don't care. I think it's more maybe an indictment on the entire SEC than it is on A&M per se.
Maybe.
But my point is, this team, first off, who is like, I know Michigan is the elite team, and there's a couple.
Arizona.
But in today's college basketball, A&M is winning the games in front of them, right?
Yeah.
In a Power 4 conference against teams that were perceived to be pretty good, right? Not the elite of the elites, but Auburn was perceived to be pretty good.
Beat Florida.
Georgia perceived to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Texas, I don't know if they were perceived to be pretty good, but they had just beaten really good teams.
They'd beaten Alabama and Vanderbilt.
Right? So, look, if you're not going to give A&M the respect now, whatever. Just keep winning games, and they'll have to figure it out when they, you know, as the season moves on, they'll continue to get a little bit more love.
The polls in basketball mean even less to me than they do in other sports because you have the net rankings,
mm-hmm.
and that's what matters anyway. Most of all, I don't know. It's not the end all be all, and so they climbed up to like number 35 in the net rankings. It wasn't that long ago that they were in the 40s. So just keep climbing.
Yeah, the kill shot. Well, they gave a couple kill shots. But when you start off a game, what was it, 22 to 2 run to start off a game, you can lose that game because a 20-point lead in today's basketball, college or pro, is it's not insurmountable like it once maybe was, but it isn't. Like
I know. Saw it in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Saw it in a good way in a lot of other games.
Sure. Yeah, you're exactly right. But it's certainly like, because even when you crawl back up to being 2 points down, right, you got to keep going.
And then, they got Georgia got within 2 points with 9 minutes to go, and Jakari Lane hits a three. You know, the guy that's been with Bucky all along, you know, that came here, you know, played with him, right?
No, he played against him.
Oh, played against him. Okay. My bad. Okay. But
he did play against them. And I think he had 30-plus
in overtime. But here's this point guard that's just comes in and, hey, we need to settle this thing down. I'll take, boom, three-pointer. And that ignited, the 15-3 run. And it was really, I mean, there's still work to do. But when they got that 15-3 run, you knew they were going to win.
Call them the runs, right? And that's what they do. They go on runs.
They do. They do. I'm not going to call them that, but I'm going to call them something.
The running Aggies.
The running Aggies.
Not the runs. Oh, man, that's uncomfortable. Hey, we'll get back to basketball in a second. Can I talk about yesterday real quick?
Yeah, about your jury duty.
First off, I had mixed emotions about the whole thing because I was semi-interested in the case.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to talk about it, I don't think. semi-interested in the case. But they didn't eliminate anybody until 3 p.m. So coming from Houston, when I've gone to jury duty, they cut me within an hour. Oh, he's on television, out. Or, hey, we're going to do our first round of cuts, right? Like layoffs at Yahoo. Boom, first round of sorry to bring up a bad subject. But it was quick, right? A couple hours maybe, not past lunch. They told us within the first 10 minutes, yeah, you'll probably be here till 3 or 4. ¿Cómo?
Yeah.
And you know what the worst part of it is?
What's that?
I don't get the credit for working, but I worked yesterday. And here's my point. I still woke up at 4. I still prepped the show because I didn't know when I was going to be here, right?
What do you mean you don't get credit for working? In whose mind?
In Billy's mind, yesterday was a day off. It was a vacation. And in fact, everybody in the back, vacation. I still woke up. I still prepped the show just like because I didn't know. I could be there for 20 minutes and I'd be here. So I don't get the benefit. It's like when you tip somebody, but they don't see you tip the jar, the jar. Like you got to wait for them to make eye contact with you, and then you put it in.
So have you actually had contact with Billy about the?
No, I haven't.
I would love to see Billy Lucci on a jury.
I don't think you're supposed to be on your phone when you're in jury.
Oh, maybe I'd like to see Billy facing a jury.
No,
he would get exonerated.
No.
He doesn't do anything wrong.
Anyway, it was a long day, and I didn't want to be picked.
No,
but I kind of wanted to see how the story ended because they told you a little bit about the case.
Well, I was last time I got called in, and I didn't get on the jury, thankfully. And,
were you there till 3?
I was there for a while. Yeah. I was telling Nick he's not going to be here because I'd been through the process, but I don't know. I can't remember if I was there till 3, maybe. But I remember finding out later that the guy was, found guilty, and I think the guy was on parole and was found with guns and other things, other misdeeds. So I think he got sent back.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, had I been on the jury, I probably would have sent him back.
Hey, so bracketology.
Yeah.
For a moment, shall we?
Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the places we may be spending, heading in March.
I found this interesting. So since this morning, it's already changed, but CBS Bracketology initially had A&M as a 7 seed.
Okay.
Taking on the 10 seed, Miami. Does that sound familiar to you?
It does.
It's just like football, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's since changed. I forget who they have now, but it wasn't Miami anymore. But I found that very interesting. And then also ESPN had A&M as an 8 seed, taking on Utah State in Chicago. If they were to win, facing Michigan in the second round.
No. Seen them in the second round.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. See, I got to admit, when I look at those, I'm more interested in where the games are than who they're playing.
So sometimes they don't put the city because they don't know. They just put the region. Right. So they put one of those. They put where was it? I guess I don't have the region, the Southwest region. And then for ESPN, they did put them in Chicago.
I just really don't want to go to Chicago, especially in March.
Well, I want to go wherever ends up in Houston for the Sweet 16 Elite 8.
I think, and I'd have to double check for me
where that's the South region. Wait,
but where in the South? Would it be Tampa or somewhere else?
I think Tampa is an option, and that's where I want to go.
I mean, if you were to,
that's what I'm rooting for. And Greenville, South Carolina is an option. That's kind of nice. So
yeah, I'll pick Tampa on that one.
But Greenville is underrated.
Is it?
Yeah. So Greenville or Tampa,
City?
huh?
Oklahoma City.
No. Don't want to go. Don't want to go to OKC.
The traveling. Well, there's still, by the way, a long part of the season.
Yeah, long.
We're just
not even halfway through the SEC season.
No, we're just projecting today.
Yeah. Look, how about this? The fact that now the different bracketologists are including A&M, not just as a first one in or last one in or something like that, and putting them in Dayton, playing. That's not, no. There's all the bracketologists have A&M solidly in the tournament, and that is amazing in itself.
I'm trying to think. I'm sure last year at this point they were the top 6 seed. But I mean, how many times have we done this show midway through the season where their first team out, first team in, not maybe in at all at this point? Like, so it's kind of a different feeling for a team that we didn't have these kind of expectations for, to be talking about them as potentially as high as the 7th seed.
Yeah, I think the last 2 seasons before this, we knew they were in. And then the season before that, we were, hey, are they, because they're kind of on the bubble. And wasn't that the NIT year?
NIT year was the 21-22 season.
Okay. Well, where have I been? They all kind of run together for me, right? And then they had like last year we knew they were in. It was about seeding matchups. The year before that, we knew they were in. Yeah. In fact, we were somewhat insulted that I think they were like a 7th seed or something like that. And
is that when they drew Penn State?
When they played Penn State.
Yeah.
And we were like, Des Moines? Okay. And Des Moines was snowy and cold.
It was 20 degrees the whole time we were there, yeah. And the best seafood we've had on a trip,
it was
which
actually
is weird.
Some really good dinner. It really was.
Yeah. Good old Logan Lee came with us on that one.
Yeah. I'll still take the seafood I had at Jackson's in Tampa when we went there for the football game.
So in the last few years, A&M basketball has gone to New York for the NIT final. Mm-hmm. They went to Des Moines next year. They went to, what was after Des Moines?
Well, I don't know. We didn't go because they lost in Des Moines. Oh, you mean the next year?
The next year.
Went to Memphis.
Memphis, then Denver.
And then, well, yeah. Yeah, Memphis and Denver. Memphis.
I'll pass on that.
Yeah, I don't, well, it might be different. Remember, they put in the National Guard to clean it up, and even the people in Memphis say, hey, yeah, this is kind of nice. But yeah, Memphis was, Memphis is an interesting place.
Memphis was Memphis. But anyway, what I wanted to kind of at least touch on this segment, how have they done it, OB? Because it's one thing to say buckyball, okay? The system. It's deeper than the system. To me, saying buckyball, I don't want to say that's a slight at Bucky because it's his system, right? Uh-huh. But it's more than just buckyball.
It's interesting. Yesterday, I was asking him, I said, we've talked about the limitations of your team. You're not the big, great size, and you don't have, and you've even yourself, Bucky, said, they're not the most athletic team, and yet y'all keep winning. Is it because the team understands their limitations, or do they don't realize they have any? And he just breaking it. Yeah, it's the system, but it's also all these guys buying into the system, and it's guys that are better players than you think, and the depth, and they're just constantly playing hard. So it's really a good mix of this whole explanation that doesn't make sense. I mean, remember these guys were picked 13th in the SEC and had lost their quote top player, or what was considered one of their top players. None of this makes sense. And yet you got guys that Bucky says, look, he didn't say, I'm not going to say that we understand our weakness. He just says we play to our strengths.
Right.
We know what makes us good and stick to that.
When we talk about buckyball as the system, that's one part of it. But to me, the mastery of his coaching this year is getting guys to buy in, because it's one thing to have a system in place where you have some veteran players like, hey, this is how we do it here. Right. You don't show up late to meetings. You do this. We run hard on this kind of, there's that. He didn't have any of that.
No. In fact, he had, I think, what's the kid's name? Duke Miles? That was committed, and then now
he went to Vandy.
I think it's at Vandy. And doing well there. But so credit Bucky, but also credit all those players to say, okay, I'm going to give this thing a shot and then embrace it, and they're obviously enjoying it. But I think the depth, that's such a key to it, because you have guys that are playing hard all the time. And then you got, look, I'll be honest. The last few years, I could watch A&M play and say, that guy and that guy, they're just really not that good. And there's I don't expect too much when they're in. And, I don't ever see a dramatic, unless Aggie's off the floor, but you just don't see a dramatic drop off.
Yeah, I get that. Hey, this is TexAgs Live.
Yeah, it's brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Yeah, he's a gem of a guy.
He is.
We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Jason Jackson, Keith and Morgan, and the boys.
And the team. And this hour has a name. We call it the Go Hour.
The Go Hour. It's brought to you by The Warehouse at CC Creations.
And we're currently hanging out in an area that we call
the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, because nothing cooler than making money.
You know, it's interesting. Every sponsor we have, you become a different character. Like, and not in a bad way. I mean, just like when we go to Cool Zone, like you just this breath. They're like, then we do the Rollo Insurance. You're kind of like one of the guys at the bar, just hanging out. And we do, David Gardner's Jewelers. I think you're just being OB there. Like you've got different characters. So let's try again.
Okay.
All right. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call us up on the Buppies Catering and
Bartending
Hotline. That's how Buppy would say bartending.
Bartending.
Yeah. And if you want to text us, where would you text us?
You can text us at the Catalyst Performance.
Pure
Performance Energy.
Text line.
And they're both all the same number, the PPE.
979-693-1150. Shall we go around the room and say hi to the people?
We shall.
We go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage, who was panicking at one point, like, David, are you coming back? And I don't think I was allowed to be on my phone during jury duty, but there was a couple texts sent.
I texted you one time. I just said, hey, let me know if you're on your way back. That's
I thought
all
he did a pretty good job in a pinch hitter's
He
role.
did a great job. Of course. I didn't hear one thing. But I heard you guys talked about me in the first segment.
Well, we were trying to come up with, like, we were hoping the judge was on his way into the courthouse. And we were like, what can we say about David that'll get him expelled? But we couldn't think of anything.
Well, there was a gentleman at jury duty at our first break who came up to me and goes, did you hear the guys talking about you? I was like, no, I got here early because we're supposed to be there at 8:15. I showed up at 7:50.
Of course you did.
Teacher's pet.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do. Anyway, Nick.
Shows up everywhere, early everywhere except to work.
I know. But I wake up early to work.
I know.
Tell me something, Nick.
I just want to know y'all's opinion, just a random question. With that bracketology CBS put out with, A&M and Miami, do you think the committee considers that like, oh, these two played in football, maybe we should put them up against each other in basketball? Or I feel like we all kind of agree that they will take any chance to, make like A&M and Texas play in the second round or something like that. Texas Tech, they do stuff like that. So
I would be skeptical that they go so far as to football with, A&M and Miami played in football. They probably already, if Miami and say Indiana had a chance to play in basketball, they'd probably jump on that. But you can't deny that they try to set up certain matchups. There are times when, if this team wins, like a couple years, but like when A&M was in Oklahoma City, had Texas not gotten beat by Northern Iowa, A&M they had it set up where A&M would play Texas in the second round. Just magically, Des Moines, it was going to be the same thing. Just magically, those two teams are going to meet in the second round. Of course, Penn State messed that up, right? So they absolutely do, but I don't know if I would buy into they were like, A&M and Miami for football. Or played football, so
I mean, I'm sure they.
I don't know if that game was high profile enough,
right?
You know what? In fact, I would say if you didn't follow A&M or Miami, you might have already forgotten.
I'm curious how often though, like a bracketology from today, actually ends up being like, how close does it get to being like whatever we're talking about today is probably not going to be what A&M gets.
Yeah, it's true.
This is just fun. Speculation.
I mean, it could all change for good or bad.
Wednesday,
yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Justin Paez is there. What up, buddy?
How's it going, guys?
Tell me something.
Well, I was going to point out another one that kind of showed that maybe they were setting things up. I know when A&M played Nebraska a couple years ago, I believe Trev Alberts had just been hired not that long
That's
before
true.
that. So, and then they let that matchup set up.
I guarantee you, if A&M was going into the tournament and Maryland was in the tournament, that it'd be set up where A&M and Maryland could play each other. Of course, that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be an issue.
I had to look up the Japanese curry.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Well, I remember that guy.
I got it. He was very emotional in that game. Kasai Tominaga.
Just a trash talking. I mean, I don't know if he was talking in English or Japanese, but just, his yakking.
He was talking quite a bit.
And then Wade Taylor starts lighting him up, and then he's crying at the end of the game. Wade hurt his feelings.
Yeah, Dominaga. Anyway, tell us something. What else?
Personally, I'm on a little bit of a high. As of yesterday, a young reporter that I am, obviously y'all get to do the reporting of Mike Elko, Bucky McMillan, but yesterday at the women's basketball game I got to cover. They did lose, so I'll report on that. They did lose to South Carolina. But that actually was a game. If y'all were in tune, they did lose by 15, so it looks lopsided. But it was with 5.5 minutes.
Wait, you said 15.
They lost by 15, so
not 50.
Not 50. So that's big time. And South Carolina has won 18 of their 24 games by 20 plus points. So this was like a take your wins when you can get them.
And their defense was really good yesterday, right?
Yeah. And with 5.5 minutes left, they were only down by 4. But then Nye Pryor and Fats Janae both fouled out. But where I was riding on a high is I got to interview not only Coach Joni, and Nye and Anita, but Coach Dawn Staley, which was cool for me.
Would you ask Dawn Staley?
I asked her about Nye. I asked her what their change was because in the first half they made 7 threes, and then the second half they made 0. But then Joyce Edwards, who's their best player, scored 14 in the fourth and like 8 points in the paint. So I felt pretty cool.
So we are old enough to have seen Dawn Staley play college basketball at a high level.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, we are, especially me. In fact, I was probably covering college or covering basketball when Dawn Staley was just a little dribbler.
Yes, it's probably so. Hey, are we allowed to talk about what you had for lunch the other day at 1775?
Well, it is, at least for now, a free country, so we can talk about anything we want.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. How I heard you got the brisket sandwich?
Yeah, well, Irma ordered the brisket sandwich. I got the jalapeno cheese sausage.
Okay.
We kind of
little halvesies.
And here, listen, my wife, very dainty, feminine lady, but I love that she likes, beef.
Yeah.
She says, "I'm not going to eat this whole thing." She picks up the sandwich. No, she doesn't need a knife. She just breaks this enormous brisket sandwich, this tall, breaks it in two. Because it's so tender.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, look, guys, I wouldn't lie to you. I'm not getting any money for this. I don't go there and they say, "Hey, Olin, we're going to give you free things, free food because you're talking nice about us." I don't get that. I'm telling you just the truth. The best brisket sandwich I ever had in my life.
I can second that. And I'll tell you when I had mine.
What?
It was during a A&M football game. They had their tent out here for our tailgate, and I got one, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I think we bought it for Isla, and she only ate half of it. So I got the second half of it. It was freaking incredible to where I was like, this is half a sandwich was enough of a meal.
And I'm always thinking, I know this doesn't make sense, but it just seemed like the sandwich tasted better than when I just get the brisket by itself. Maybe because when I get the brisket by itself, I always have everything else too, and I'm sampling everything, but I was just in that brisket sandwich, and it was so juicy. It was tremendous.
It was tremendous. Well, I wasn't there, but I assume it was because you said it was.
Because I'm telling you.
Yeah, Thursday through Saturday. That's when they're open, by the way.
That's not a lie either.
11 a.m. until they're sold out.
Truth.
Yep, and you were going to say that. 979-492-6241.
And it's good. And I'm no lie, it's good.
It's very good. We are back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Time for the Knockout Performer of the Week, brought to you by TKO Equipment. Rent, sell, lease, or rent to buy TKO Equipment, which is your trusted source for used heavy equipment. OB, SEC Player of the Week, Rashawn Agee?
Yeah. But you know what? You know who deserves an honorable mention?
Who?
Ali Deba.
I have him on here.
What a second
Plus 11 when he was out there.
What a second half performance. Hitting threes, making big shots. In that 15-3 run, I believe he had 8 points. I think it was 2 threes, one with a set shot. Of course, I think Rashawn Agee assisted on.
I don't think of Ali Deba as my three-point shooter. But that being said, he's been hitting them. So props to him.
You know, I was looking it up, and I think I got this right, that, you know, we expect Rashawn Agee to go out and lead the team in scoring. It happens a lot. 10 different players have been the second leading scorer this year. I mean, the point is, it just shows
anybody can step up.
It'd be a great gambling game, right? Say, hey, we're going to set odds, and you can pick who you think is going to be second in scoring in a game, right? It's like if you had Zach Clements, who
was first in scoring that day, right?
Right. But, that was a guy that could be it. And, his odds would probably be, you could make more on that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, say, Rylan Griffin, who's always up there, right?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show what we were talking about earlier about their depth. They don't just all run out there and spell somebody so they can get a breath, catch their breath.
Right.
They go out there and produce, and they can do it like 1 through 10 or deeper.
I got Marcus Hill on the list as well.
Marcus Hill's been playing some good basketball.
15 points, 3 rebounds, plus 4 when he was out there. Really nice play.
Yeah, both of those guys really played well. And you know what? Those are guys you don't necessarily expect. Maybe you should, but you don't expect a lot of scoring production from them. And they come up with 30 points between them.
And just to make sure that I say Rashawn Agee, give him his props completely. 18 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. 10th double-double of the season.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about it yesterday. He became in the last, 20, 30 years or something in SEC play, just the second guy to have 18 points, 15 rebounds, and more than 5 assists, something like that. And the only other one was the kid from Florida, Horford.
Here's the official line if you want it. He's the second player in the last 30 years to put up at least 15 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 assists in an SEC game. The last one to do it was Al Horford in 2006 versus Vanderbilt.
Wow. It's pretty great stats.
Yeah. What an amazing find. How did they get this guy here?
And they fought for it, right?
Yeah.
They weren't sure, they were hoping, they believed that they could get it done. Again, that goes all back into when we talked about how are they doing it beyond just the system. That's all of it, the scouting, the development, all of it.
And when I say how did they get him here, the reason I say that is because, as we know, when Bucky took over, most of the top-ranked guys in the portal had already been taken.
Yep.
How was this guy still around?
Well, because
of the uncertainty about his status.
Yeah.
Playing status.
As I've said many times, whatever's going to help A&M get to the next level, but I think this guy in particular, we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. We're going to remember him as the face of this beginning era of Buckyball, right?
Yeah.
You had Wade and Henry as a face. You had AC Fresh as a face. You had AC Law as a I think Rashawn Agee is obviously the face of this era of Aggie basketball. It's going to be a one-year deal, but for right now.
Yeah. Definitely leading the way if they're kicking off that Bucky era in a great way. Hopefully they just keep it going.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, I'm going to play you a soundbite from a guy that I covered for many years.
All right.
That I think is one of the top 3 coaches in college basketball. You should be able to figure out who it is.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk about a soundbite that I liked. I like hearing his wisdom. So we'll hear
I like Kelvin too.
Look at you. You knew who it was. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? That's Rollo Insurance, Jason Jackson, and the boys, as we've talked about many times. My guy there is Keith. Morgan. Keith is also one of my guys. They're all my guys.
They're all.
I do group text them. Anyway, they're fantastic, and they can be fantastic for you when you're looking for insurance. That is the insurance group to take care of you. Good old boys who love the Aggies, who love this community. They got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here in College Station along Highway 6. You want to reach out to them because they're going to get you the right insurance situation for you and your family. If we're talking about home, auto, whatever it may be, let them help you out getting the right insurance for your family. The phone number is 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Hey guys, David Nuño here to talk about our new partners with EventPipe. They are a leader in hotel booking technology, and now they're giving you a chance to support Aggie student athletes every time that you travel. Thanks to their partnership with United and EventPipe, whether you're heading into a game, a business trip, or family vacation, every room that you book comes with cash back in the pockets of Aggie athletes. That's a wonderful deal. And with EventPipe, you'll get discounted hotel rates up to 20% lower than the major travel sites, while enjoying a fast, easy booking process. They've even created Presto, EventPipe's quick launch booking solution. It lets organizations build branded hotel sites powered by live hotel inventory, making it simple to book the perfect stay. So next time you want to book a trip, do it the smart way with EventPipe and support Texas Aggies NIL through United. Visit their website, tau.eventpipe.com. Chilling at the holistic planning cool zone.
Yeah.
Obi, not a fair question to ask you.
Okay.
All right. But if you could fix one thing in college athletics, what would that be? Which would have the most positive ripple effects
in all of college athletics?
Yeah.
I would probably break off the SEC and Big Ten and the majors and create their own super conference and not have it under NCAA. Just put it all under one entity, one umbrella with the all the rules are the same, all the officials are the same. Everything under one. Yeah.
Okay. That could fix some problems, and you have some new rules under that guidance, right?
What does Kelvin say?
Well, Kelvin wasn't asked that directly, but you can surmise what he would say after listening to the soundbite, because he basically, I'll set it up for you. He was asked about the current state of college athletics and college basketball, and he wants to remind people that it's about education, and there's a way to fix this, he believes, moving forward.
Okay.
Nobody cares, because if you say something, you're complaining. But at some point, somebody's got to step up and say, this is wrong. It's not what we signed up for. It's not what they signed up for. That's not fair to them either. It's not fair to their parents. We're still at an educational institution, but there's nothing educational about college basketball right now. It's all transactional. And then we go put our head in the sand and act like, well, it'll change eventually. Think how many ADs 5 years ago said, this will play out. This won't last. Okay. Same guys are saying it today. This won't last. It's going to outlast all of us. Because that toothpaste is out of the tube, and you ain't putting it back in. And it ain't going to control it. But what can you control? You can control that transfer portal. And I'm adamant that we are positively impacting lives if we tell a kid that he has to sit out for a year. Transfer, you get one transfer. Anywhere you want with no penalty. Transfer and go play right away. But you can't do that every year. We've made a mockery of college basketball to some degree. Now, the game is bigger than all of us.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it sounds good.
Do you think that would fix a lot of the problems? I do. I tend to think that
maybe
that there could be some other problems because of it, but it would stop, I believe, the tampering that's part of the tampering that's going on every semester, sliding into your DMs, talking to your agent. Hey, if you hit the portal, we'll get you double.
Maybe they need to talk to coaches and get coaches in that are of higher integrity that says, no, we're not going to complain about it. We're just not going to take those guys.
What do you think John Wooden, if we could implement him somehow, transport him, his philosophy, his time, all that into college basketball today?
Well, they had some controversy with payment of players even when he was the coach at UCLA. He said, it was just a over-enthusiastic fan. It may have been. I think all the legendary coaches would be disgusted. I mean, they would be just like the guy at Villanova that quit. After he won a national championship. I don't like where it's going. A lot of guys wouldn't. But he said it, you let the toothpaste out of the tube. You can't put it back in, right? So complaining about it, about what's going on, really doesn't do any good because I don't know how you fix it.
But do you think the one transfer can help fix some of it?
Yeah, until somebody challenges it legally. When someone challenges it legally and they lose, because the NCAA and college sport always lose, and then what? Then you're right back where you started. Because somebody will challenge it legally and they'll win. You're going to tell me I can't transfer?
You can transfer, you just can't play.
Well, and okay, and all you got to do is get your Tuscaloosa judge to come in and
that's right.
I mean, you got a guy that's signed an NBA contract, and he's playing college. So tell them they can't transfer and not play is gonna.
And now there's another guy doing it.
Another guy who played like 10 games in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like a great idea. I agree with him. I'm just saying, is it going to stand up legally? And you tell me, what is the lawsuit that the NCAA or college sports has won?
They haven't.
They've never won. So maybe this will be the one. It's the first time for everything, right?
I know Ted Cruz recently, maybe it was a day or two ago, was like, he does not want to see athletes become employees, but it's moving in that direction. And that's going to be the only way, I believe, to have contracts that are binding.
Well, contracts should just be binding as soon as you sign it, like Washington did.
Mm-hmm.
And, Duke was, I assume Miami's paying Duke a couple $1 million and everything. Oh, okay, sure. Because how far are we going with Mensa anyway?
Right. But they're going to have to tamper to get a quarterback now.
Yeah, unless they got somebody that already on campus that they like. But, well, again, and I know he said what the line is, well, if we don't, we're going to get left behind like Dabo was. But what if you had just coaches agree, we're not going to play that game? But they won't because somebody
else will.
Right.
So Will Stein now is, he's the new coach of Kentucky. He's also talking about tampering in college sports. He's upset about it, even though they had a really good transfer portal class. They had one, I think, top 10, if you want to double check that. I feel like maybe I made that number up, but I feel like they had a very good class. You can text or call guys. You can't text or call guys. You can't do that, so don't. It's not that hard. I don't understand why it can be so difficult for coaches and the rules, and that's what Dabo said. If that's the rule, then follow the rule. Until they establish clear, concise rules and get the calendar fixed to where people don't have to do this, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well, I've always said this, and you set your rules, and if the coach breaks them, if you set the rule against tampering, and Pete Golding clearly broke the rules of tampering, right? Then what you do is, hey, Ole Miss, your take of the SEC when the SEC is only going to be 50%.
Yeah.
Now watch when you start hitting them in the money in the pocket. Well, watch how quickly they'll change things. But they don't.
I don't have this problem with my kids, but let's just say my boys constantly miss curfew. Okay. Boys, be home by midnight. They show up at 1:30, 2 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. If I don't give them a punishment, it is just a suggestion. It's not a rule.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they do it, I take away their keys from their car. Now they have to follow, or they won't get their car back. And that's what is happening in college sports. There is no punishment, or it's a fake punishment, or it's this fake witch, hunt that they're doing that doesn't really amount to anything. Remember when the article last week came out with Ross Dellinger about the CSC and LSU? What came out of that? Nothing.
Well, I assume they're still working on it, but I don't think anything's going to come of it because LSU's not alone.
Yeah. And that was not football, by the way. That was other sports. But anyway, did you find?
Yeah, on ESPN it said Kentucky is 8th.
8th, yeah. So they had a really good transfer portal class. I do think I'm not saying Will Stein tampered, but sometimes the ones that are complaining about the tampering are also doing it. I don't think Dabo's doing it. I have no idea what Will Stein is, but you better it's one thing to stick to your morals and what the rules are. But if you feel like you have to play catch up because other people are doing it, then you bend the rules.
And I know I'm beating the dead horse again, but with all this, I just kind of want to say, I don't care because all these people that are complaining now, this could have all been fixed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
For a whole lot less money. You would have said, hey, players, let's come get together. We're going to pay you. Let's get together, send some representatives from each school, and we're going to figure out a way that's a method, a payment system that you'll agree to, and everything would have been fine. But no, everybody knew when it went to court that they would lose,
Yep.
that the NCAA would lose. They always lose.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. We'll do a final segment here on the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Right now, I want you to imagine a workspace designed for how we work now, collaborative, inspiring, and surrounded by real energy. That is the Lumen at Lake Walk. The Lumen is Bryan College Station's only Class A plus office building with lake views, on-site dining, fitness, and conference amenities, all just steps from the Stella Hotel and everything Lake Walk has to offer. It's a place built for the modern business, a place that helps attract talent, impress clients, and keep teams energized. And there's something that all Aggies will appreciate is Aggie-owned project developed by William Cole Companies, the same group that brought you the Traditions Club, the Stella Hotel, and Lake Walk. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or looking for your next headquarters or family office, this is where innovation meets lifestyle. Now leasing at the Lumen. Learn more at lakewalktx.com. That is lakewalktx.com. It's the Lumen. All right, we're talking about Burlebo, the heart of Texas. More than an outdoor lifestyle brand, its products created with you in mind. Currently, I'm wearing the performance polo, the Texas maroon and gray. If you look into it, you've got the state of Texas in gray, and you also got it in maroon. It's one of their highest, most popular sales that they have there. It is really nice. Comfort and versatility. You can wear it in any situation. Quick drying, fits the size. But Burlebo, they're rooted in tradition, fueled by passion for the outdoors. Designs high-quality apparel that works just as hard as you do. So whether you're hitting a workout, enjoying a day of fishing, or cheering on your favorite college team, their gear is made for the athlete, the outdoorsman, and the everyday adventure. And it's really nice. I wore this one to church the other day. People talked about it. Really, my kids were like, "Hey, Dad, you look pretty good today." From athletic shorts to your favorite go-to tees and performance hoodies, they have everything you want. Check out burlebo.com and find your new favorite gear. It's Burlebo for the athlete, for the outdoors, and for the family. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50, but right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We got a seat. You dancing over there?
Doing a little dance. I was excited for you
You're okay.
to pan back over here.
Okay. Senior Bowl, you had an update for us.
I do. Obviously going into Senior Bowl week last week, we saw, Le'Veon Moss is on that list, Casey Concepcion, Trey Zune, Will Lee, but the two biggest standouts, Nate Borkacher and Demetrius Crownover, they had great Senior Bowl weeks. The Athletic listed Nate Borkacher as a winner. He had that massive catch to a touchdown. I don't know if y'all saw the video. It was phenomenal. And then Demetrius Crownover, who we thought, he struggled at times this year for sure, but he was, quote-unquote, turning heads this week. So big weeks for them as they try to raise their draft stock.
So we're going to have Lance Zierlein on the show from NFL.com, good friend of mine. I worked with him at 1560 in Houston. He has 3 Aggies in his latest mock draft in the first round.
3 first-round picks.
He does. He's got Cassius Howell. He's got Casey Concepcion. And Chase DeSantis.
Interesting.
He's got Chase going 32nd overall to Seattle.
Interesting. Well, you know what? I hope he's right.
He's got 23rd pick overall, Cassius Howell, and Casey is the 30th pick. And I'll remind you, now this is an early version of it, right? We're still we're right before the what do you call it? We are right before the we're still not in front of the combine yet. We're not even at the combine. Excuse me, as I learn English. That being said, he told us on our show maybe 3 years ago that Kenyon Green was going to get drafted by the Texans in the first round.
And he's right.
And he was right, and nobody had that, and he did. So Lance has got really good insight.
Yeah. Again, I hope it's right. I'll have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
But I hope it's right. I root for all those guys. I guess
when you're that late in the first round, like all 3 of those guys are 20th and beyond, it could easily be second round. It could potentially be a little bit higher.
I remember when I think it was Jermaine Ifedi was the last player taken in the first round. And I think it was by Seattle.
He was the last player taken in the first round.
I think it was by Seattle.
Okay.
Because it kept...
was the Super Bowl year?
I don't know. Can't remember that. But it kept a streak of A&M offensive linemen being taken in the first round. And the last time they had 3 players taken in the first round
2013 draft?
2014.
And who were... You already know. Who were they? Who were they? Who were they?
Johnny Football and Mike Evans and Jake Matthews.
There you go.
I already knew that. I was trying to...
Were you worried that you didn't know it in your head because there was a little hesitation?
No, I was trying to...
you were asking me. Oh, my bad. Yeah. We talked about this with Billy on the show on Friday. That was the last time that
and how about the last time before that?
Last time before that, was it during the Aaron Glenn days?
Yeah. He might have been one of them. I think Aaron Glenn, Sam Adams, Greg Hill.
Okay.
I think. That probably would have been like 94.
Aaron Glenn, Greg Hill, and who else was it?
Sam Adams.
Yep, correct.
Look at you, old man.
I remember the things that happened a long time ago. A lot of
yesterday. Sounds like the same right here. OB, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, it is a Houston extravaganza. We're going to have Chris Gordy joining us from that SEC podcast. Well, actually, that's not his podcast. But he talks SEC. Joni Taylor. Sorry, was that Nick?
Locked On SEC.
Yeah, Locked On SEC. Joni Taylor joining us. Adam Spencer, who wrote How A&M is Getting It Done with Bucky. We'll talk about that. And in the 10 o'clock hour, Justin Lanham, and as I mentioned, Lance Zierlein. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's get locked on to the SEC. We go to the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Our buddy Chris Gordy joining the program. What's up, Gordy?
What's up, David? Good to be on, man.
It's a lot of blue in the background. It's very SEC of you. Is that new? Is that a new touch?
We've had it for a while, but
Okay.
yeah, it's it goes with the theme, the blue and I guess is it gold, yellow? What is the secondary color?
Yeah, I'm going to call it yellow. There's a lot of bobbleheads, right? Is that bobbleheads?
Oh yeah, it's the one thing I collect. Some people collect coins. We do bobbleheads.
Well, let's get into stuff. I want to talk basketball with you at the end of it, but I want to start things off with just SEC football in general and some of the storylines, and I guess we'll start off with A&M. What do you think about what, in the backdrop of this answer, what A&M did in 25 with new additions coming in 26 and where Marcel Reed needs to go?
Yeah, I think, Elko was close but no cigar in year one, but sent the message, okay, we're going to be good. I think year two, I think I say we, like outside of College Station, everybody remembers what happened in the playoff game, but we completely ignore the 11-0 start. Like, we can't forget that. Like, A&M was a top 5 team, controlling the SEC, controlling their own destiny, and then, of course, things kind of slid away the last couple games. But, like, in other words, the message has been sent. We're here. We're not going anywhere. A&M is a legit program here in the SEC under Mike Elko. So, the pieces that they bring back, obviously, it starts with Marcel Reed. I think he's gotten too much criticism for how he played in the playoff game. Obviously, there was a lot that didn't go right that day, with the wind and all the factors there. I do think maybe their game plan was a little bit, let's keep this close to the vest. Let's win a close game, but I think Marcel Reed's got a lot he needs to improve on. You bring in Isaiah Horton from Alabama, who was a solid number 2 for them last year and, had some really nice performances for them and can find the end zone. So I think that's a great weapon to replace KC Concepcion. And then, getting Mario Craver back is huge. So, I think the run game, they got to get back to that dominant run game that they once had. But I love what he did in the portal. I mean, loading up in the trenches, both offensive and defensive line, particularly that D line, where he said, okay, we have got to be better there. And I thought, you go back and watch the game against Miami, that's kind of where the game was lost, was in the trenches, was that the offensive line couldn't get enough of a push, enough protection, and then the defensive line couldn't get enough of, getting after Carson Beck and company. So, look, he identified the needs and addressed those needs. Now we got to go see him prove it.
I'm glad you brought up Marcel because I think it's too easy to point at him for some of the problems down at the end of the season. That being said, he's got to elevate his game this upcoming season because there's too many unknowns around him, right? The offensive line, it could be better. I don't think it'll be better, but it could be. You got a bunch of, but when you add so many new pieces, there's unknowns. So where do you want to see Marcel take his game?
Yeah, I think the decision making, it was interesting because I was at the game at College Station and being down there on the field and watching, and there were times I thought he stayed in the pocket when there was a running lane, and then vice versa. I thought, there were times where hey, you got to stay back there, and he takes off and runs. It's like, man, just wait, let your receivers get open. So I mean, there was all those kind of moments. It's just part of maturing and growing and developing as a quarterback. And, I was kind of surprised looking at the Heisman odds yesterday. And, we know Arch Manning's up there. He's going to get all the love. But, CJ Carr from Notre Dame's up there and all these names. And then, like, you go down and there's Marcel Reed. I'm like, I just, based off the season Marcel Reed just had, I would have him a little bit higher in terms of, expectations for the season. I love how the schedule sets up where you can kind of ease into it with Missouri State and then, a rebuilding Arizona State team and then a rebuilding Kentucky team. I think it allows them to kind of dip their toe in the water before they go to that road trip to LSU. But again, you just want to see all the signs of a maturing quarterback coming back for another year. And, frankly, maybe it's better that he's, that he finishes the season with all this criticism because, again, everybody forgets all the great moments he had throughout the year where he looked awesome.
Talking to Chris Gordy here on TexAgs Live. All right, let's transition to LSU. You mentioned them a moment ago. Obviously, Lane, the Portal King, he is so good on social media. How has the transition gone with Lane as the top guy and with all the eyeballs that LSU is getting with him there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're an LSU fan, you love it. I mean, from the get-go, when the rumor came out that he was considering them, he's already one of the most hated people in college football. And, the media kind of generated this whole good guy versus or bad guy versus good school in Ole Miss. And Ole Miss became the victim. And, let's rally around them and all this. Even though he said he wanted to keep coaching, that they said, well, you're going to a rival. We're not going to let you. But I think in all that we forgot, Lane is still a pretty damn good coach and a great offensive mind. And we saw what Charlie Weiss Jr. did with that offense through the playoffs. So I think the arrow's pointed upward. It's all about all these new pieces, though. Like, how quickly do you develop this chemistry? And it's, kind of a funny parallel watching this Texas A&M basketball team where it's all new pieces. I mean, like all new dudes. Like, gosh, you do, like, coming into the season, we looked at it and went, we don't know what this team's going to be because it's all new pieces. It's kind of what the LSU team is. Like, we know Lane's a good coach. We know Weiss is a good offensive mind. We know Blake Baker's a good defensive mind. But it's just so much new. Like, you don't know. It's that big C word, chemistry. How quick does it come together? And, can they weather the storm of a tough schedule? So, expectations are high. They're expecting 10-2 or better in Baton Rouge. They want them to make the playoff in year one. They spent the money to go do it. Now they got to go prove it. But, man, it doesn't get, we talk about opening up with those tough games. I mean, Clemson coming to Baton Rouge, I know people are going to poo-poo on Clemson. That still is a tough game in game number one for Lane. You wish you could open with a southeastern Louisiana or something like that to kind of get your feet wet.
Chris, what happens if the Alabama job comes available and in November they come after Lane and he thinks about leaving early?
Yeah, people have brought that up. I think he truly does believe the LSU job is a dream job, and the fact Nick Saban gave his blessing and said you got to go there. Coach O said you got to go there. Prior to Brian Kelly, the previous 4 coaches all won, or 3-4 coaches all won championships there. So I think he kind of looks at it as, I'm here and he's getting all the resources in the world and all this. I just look at the Bama thing and go, is it that much more of a dream job than LSU? You get the history of Alabama and all that, but like, Bama was struggling to get their NIL money up a couple years ago. I think he's getting a little bit more of that, resources and stuff from LSU. And then it almost becomes, okay, is it a lateral move? With the pressure that he would have from an Alabama. At least LSU is saying, look, I want you to compete for championships every couple of years, At Alabama, it's every year. You better be competing for a national championship this year and next year and the year after. And that's what Kalen DeBoer is going through right now at Alabama because he's not living up to that. But, I think a lot of people made a lot to do about that. I don't think Lane would leave just because, and we'll see how this year plays out at LSU, but he's getting all the resources he wanted, and LSU is a dream job. It's not like he's at Mizzou and then Alabama opens up,
Historically, obviously, LSU is a much better job, historically. Well, you could argue that it was a lateral move from where Ole Miss had been playing.
Yeah, I think the tough part was, and the argument I made was, Ole Miss, I asked somebody, I said, can Ole Miss ever win the national championship? And most people said, no, it's Ole Miss. And prior to this playoff run, I think most people would have agreed with that. But then when they got in and they start making the run, you're going, oh, okay, maybe they can. But I just think it's been done at LSU. It hasn't been done at Ole Miss. So I think that's kind of what you got to look at. And, there was the factor of rally around Pete Golding. They play, David, I was at the Sugar Bowl. It was like 70% of the dome was Ole Miss fans. They were angry, and they were, if Lane's coaching that game, I don't know if they come out with the same passion and drive and wanting to win this thing. You know what I mean? So I think there was a little bit of that. I think Pete's under a lot of pressure now moving forward because you did the whole rally around Pete for the playoff run, and it was awesome and all this. But now Pete's got to go win games. He's got to go coach a full season of football. And I asked somebody last year, I said, is Pete Golding ever going to be up for a head coaching job? I'm like, yeah, his name's popped up here and there, but I don't know if he's ready. This is what somebody told me a year ago. And now he's a head coach in the SEC. So he's got a lot of pressure to live up to. But, Yeah, look, Ole Miss is going to be very good. It sounds like all signs point to they're going to get Trinidad Chambliss back. You got Kewan Lacey back. They did a great job of locking in so much of their roster to return before Lane could even get to them and they could enter the portal. So they're going to be good. But I just, again, I don't know if you can ever win a championship at Ole Miss. Getting over that hump is so hard. And this might have been their best chance to ever do it, and they may never get back there again.
Chris, interestingly, everybody was like rooting for Golding, and then the Clemson situation happens, and now he's the bad guy. What did you make of that whole situation?
Yeah, I just thought it was silly. Like the whole stupid part. Bill Cowher was on NFL Today a few weeks ago going, I can't believe Lane left that team. And I'm like, am I taking crazy pills? Lane said publicly he wanted to keep coaching. LSU even said, we'll let Lane coach through the playoff. We don't care. And it was Ole Miss that said, we can't let him go. We can't let him keep coaching. And so it was just one of those things where, like, he became such the villain that it was rah, 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 get around Ole Miss. And I said, well, wait, Pete coached under Saban and coached under Lane. He's going to do all the same dirty tactics that those guys did. Like, it's not like he's coming in with, he's just this miracle worker. And so, yeah, I kind of figured it was going to come out that, he's doing stuff that maybe not on the up and up. But I always say, like, have a middleman, Pete. You can't be the guy texting the Clemson linebacker. You got to have a middleman doing that. That's how Will Wade got in trouble at LSU. Like, that's how Calipari can wash his hands and go, I don't know what you're talking about. He doesn't text the kids. There's always a middleman.
Well, look, it's been months since the Lane thing happened, but I do want to go back to something you said there, because don't you think, it is perceived this way by some, that he quit on Ole Miss even though he took a job and said he would have coached? Hey, I'll still take you to soccer practice, kids, but I'm going to be married to this lady. Like, I don't know, like, it just, to me, it felt like he quit on them. I understand the why, but it still felt like he quit on that team.
Yeah, that's why he tried to ride that thing out as long as he can. That's why that meeting at the house with the chancellor and all that lasted so many hours. Like, they were trying to figure it out. He was saying, because remember, the Iron Bowl was still about to happen, and it was like, okay, well, if Alabama loses, Ole Miss is going to go play for an SEC championship. I guaranteed Lane Kiffin's coaching the SEC championship game with Ole Miss that weekend if that happens. So I don't know what happens after that. Maybe he has a change of heart and says, okay, I'm not going to LSU, whatever. But it was just an impossible situation. Because, again, I still thought Ole Miss's best chance to win in the playoff was with Lane Kiffin on the sidelines. And I think if you're an Ole Miss fan, you take the emotions out of it, probably the smartest thing would have been, let's let him finish coaching this team. He wanted to keep coaching the team. So when they say he quit, he was forced to quit. They wouldn't let him into the building. They said, we're turning your key card off. You can't come in tomorrow. So I think, and then that's where it came out. Oh, well, he said, I'm going to take players with me. Yeah, he's throwing whatever he wants out there because he's like, you're pissing him off. He's trying to keep coaching this team. But again, I get it. It would be the same thing if, imagine a world where Kiffin announces he's going to A&M tomorrow. LSU would be like, the hell out of here. You can't keep coaching. So I get it. But at the end of the day, it's just, it was an impossible situation until this calendar changes, David. I don't know. This is going to happen again somewhere. It just will.
Until the calendar changes. So what do you think that calendar change is?
People like Josh Pate have put out some pretty good, reasonable timelines of moving the calendar up a little bit, starting the season. Why do we play a week 0 anyway? Let's call that week 1, push the schedule up. I think Army Navy is as historic as it is. There's no reason why we can't play playoff games that weekend too. It could have its own time slot, but before and after we can play playoff games. I think we try to get this thing as close to crowning a champion around New Year's as possible. But again, those schools that finish their season the last week of November, do you tell them they all have to wait? You can't hire a new coach. You can't, start looking at the transfer portal and all that until January. That's a tough ask to say. You got to sit around 5 weeks to figure out what the future of your program is. So I don't know what the right answer is. I do think moving the schedule up will help, though.
Chris, does Vandy have staying power? Obviously Clark Lee is an excellent coach. Diego Pavia is moving on to the NFL, 5'9" and all. But do you think that what we've seen from Vanderbilt, or are they going to go back to the old school Vanderbilt that we've seen most of the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go back down to that because Clark Lee's a damn good coach. We had him on Locked on SEC last week, and you just talk to him, and the dude gets it. And look, he had job offers this offseason. He could have went just about anywhere he wanted, but it's different when it's your alma mater and you feel like you're building something different. And, look, he's very high on Jared Curtis. He's saying all the right things about Jared Curtis, not trying to put too much pressure on him. But this was one of the top quarterback commits in the country, and he chose Vanderbilt. It's going to take some time. He's going to have some growing pains, but I almost think maybe like a 7-5 this year would be a win for Vanderbilt. You're not all the way back down. It's a little bit of a step back from what you just did, but I think that's your staying power. Like if you can continue to be above 500, if you could continue to be bowl eligible, because Vanderbilt wasn't that. I mean, they were struggling to get the 5 wins, 6 wins. So I think probably like a 7 win season. Look, if they get to 8-4, that's a huge win for them. But they're going to be in the playoff conversation next year. No, but let's watch Jared Curtis and how he develops, because if that kid lives up to the hype in a year or two, maybe Vanderbilt is back in the playoff picture.
Gordy, last thing for you, Aggie basketball. I know you've been paying attention. What can you compare them to? They're not Indiana, because Indiana won a national championship, but this is a team that nobody expected to do anything, and here they are. Big week coming ahead still. There's a lot on the schedule left, but they're still playing way above anybody's thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, look, they've got some nice pieces that they've brought in, but the defense is what jumps out to me a little bit. How teams are kind of, at least since they've been in the SEC play, how teams have kind of struggled to, get their offense going consistently, and they fight hard, man. They play hard, they battle hard, they crash the boards. I like, Rashawn's been a lot of fun to watch him develop and kind of get to know all these new players, but. Bucky ball's real, man. We heard about it, and okay, is this going to translate to the SEC or not? But yeah, I mean, it does almost feel like, okay, when you get into the tougher stretch of the schedule, when you get to have to go to Arkansas and you play Kentucky and all that, is that where maybe a losing skid starts? But 7-1, man, in SEC play, you can't ask for better than that. Sitting right up at the top, I think they're legit. I think this is a tournament team, and we'll see how far they can go, but. Yeah, I mean, just watching the last couple of games, at least, I like their intensity on defense, diving for rebounds, all that kind of stuff. They're a fun team to watch.
Gordy, we appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, David.
Chris Gordy there on the Bumpy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, Locked On SEC, good friend of the program. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Joni Taylor on the other side. Right now, if you're looking for real peace of mind when it comes to your money, check out Aggie-owned Paragon Financial Advisors. They're an independent fiduciary serving clients all across Texas. No sales pitches, no commissions, just honest financial planning and investment management. And what really sets them apart is the over 9 CFPs, the CFA, and the CPA all on staff. They take their credentials seriously, and they work tirelessly to help you build a future that you can feel good about. Go to paragon-adv.com or give them a call, 979-693-3907, to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors. Integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors. And we are back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Texas A&M women's basketball showed a lot of fight and some defensive identity against South Carolina last night. Joining us to discuss that encouraging performance is Joni Taylor on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline and looking ahead as well. Joni, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. So let's talk about last night. Obviously, I know you don't like the result, but as you mentioned last night, a stepping stone towards what you all were trying to play for.
Correct. Obviously, we've talked about it before. January has been our storm. We've played 6 teams in our league who were ranked in the top 5 or top 10 at the time we played them. And so we have the 6th toughest schedule in the country, and so far the toughest SEC schedule. That's not a complaint. That is why you come to this league. To get better. And so our conversation has been not just as we prepare for last night, but let's continue to get better as we walk through this storm and play these teams. And we've done that. I think we took the right step at Oklahoma, even though the box score didn't show that result. Our outcome wasn't what we wanted. I thought we had competitive stamina. I thought we played hard. We rebounded with Oklahoma within 1. And then we carried that over last night. I thought we just applied pressure to South Carolina. They're a really good team. I do realize they were without a starter. But they're a really good team, and I thought we applied pressure on both ends of the floor. The ball had good energy. It flowed. It moved. It didn't stick. Defensively, we kept changing our look. We rebounded with them. We wanted to be within 10 of the boards with South Carolina, and we were able to do that. So I just thought our game plan in all areas was solid, and I thought we had great competitive stamina for 40 minutes.
Obviously, you're in a profession that results matter. That being said, as you're trying to coach a team and get it through a storm, the eyeball test, and to me, it's what you saw. Am I correct about that? How the team played, that was really the reason you feel like you've turned the corner.
Right, and we've seen that in practice, and so I'm really glad that we were able to do that at home for our fans who have been so loyal to us. We had a great crowd last night. The 12th man was just amazing. Our students were great. Our marketing team did a tremendous job. Darius Taylor did a great job with the scout. But we've seen that in practice. We continue to see players get better, come in for individual work, get in extra reps in the weight room. I want to brag on Anita Francini, our freshman from Italy, who wasn't able to come here over the summer, which was vital to her. She tore her ACL last November right after we signed her. And so it was extremely important that we get her here over the summer, finish out her rehab, and get her ready to go. And then she had, hold up with her visa and did not get here until August. And so Anita's first day of practice was a week before our season started. A week before November the 6th was the first day she was cleared to practice. And so you're looking at a young lady who did not play and has not played at all. But practice has been her games, and she has been competitive in practice. She's learned our offense and our defense, and she provided a level of energy and physicality and toughness and rebounding last night that we have needed.
How do you balance tough, tenacious defense and foul issues? Yesterday, unfortunately, there's a couple of your better players foul out because of, the high intensity of the game.
I think there's 2 fouls for, you're talking about Nye and Fats, and there's 2 fouls for both of them that they just can't commit. There's 2 silly fouls. I hate using the word silly, but that's the word I'm going to use. There's 2 fouls that they just cannot have. And so their fouls have to make sense. They've got to be disciplined. I say if you play 30 minutes and don't foul at all, then you're not playing hard enough, right? And so the 2 of their fouls have got to go away. Maybe 3 for Fats. And we've got to be better. Nye normally doesn't get herself in that type of foul trouble. I think she had some tic-tac fouls called on her last night, and then she had 2 aggressive fouls that obviously were fouls, and she was trying to go after the ball. But those 2 that were nitpicky really hurt her.
Talking to Joni Taylor here on TexAgs Live. Joni, what about the defense in the second half, especially the way you all held South Carolina 0 from 8 from the 3 line?
Yeah, I thought it was better in the first half. We lost Tessa Johnson, and how you lose, one of the best shooters percentage-wise in the country, I don't know. But I think they did a great job of moving her around, and we lost her when she went weak side in our zone, and they played inside out a lot. You've got to respect who they are interior with their post players and their presence, and they did a great job. Their post players did a great job of letting the ball touch the paint, and then when we were crowd the paint, kicking it out to Tessa. She was 5 for 7. And so when you talk about South Carolina's threes in the first half, you're talking about Tessa Johnson, and I thought we were much better the second half of stopping her. And by stopping her, you really take away their 3-point opportunities.
Talking to Joni Taylor here on TexAgs Live. How about the free throw line and the clear minds, especially during a very tough game to be as good as you were from the line? with everything that was on the line?
Well, I thought Emerald stepped up. Emerald had a great floor game when she subbed in for Lauren. She made big shots. She made free throws. She made a backdoor pass that we've been working on in practice. I think she's continued to get better when she's locked in and ready to go. I thought everybody stepped up and made free throws. Making free throws allowed us to add another layer to our defense, which was to press. And so when we were able to get to the free throw line, we were only there one time in the first half. We were 1 for 2. The foul count, by the way, was 11-1 to end the first half. We played 2 quarters of basketball, and the foul count was 11-1. And that's all I'll say about that. But I thought we were better about getting to the free throw line in the third and fourth quarter, which allowed us to set our press, which was another layer to our defense that allowed us to turn them over and speed them up or eat the clock.
Joni, what can you tell us about Alabama that you're going to be facing on Sunday?
Top 25 team. I haven't spent a lot of time watching them. We have some time off before we play them. We don't play a Thursday game, and so I'll start watching them today. Historically, they're a team that spreads you out. They have great movement offensively. They shoot the ball well. They play 5 out, 4 out, 1 in. They've got great inside presence with Essence Cody, and they've got people all around her who shoot it, so they're going to try to spread you out. Defensively, they have a mix of man and zone. Again, that is just based on historically who Christy Curry is, and her teams have a tremendous amount of toughness and grit to them. But I'll put my eyes on them today and start breaking down the film on Alabama.
Joni, we appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. That is Joni Taylor there on the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. You were there. You got to cover it. You saw a different team.
I did for sure. It was, at first, it seemed like it was going to be one of those games that we have been seeing of recent note. They're down by 15 in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, and you're like, this is probably it. But then they have those spurts where they can go on a big run and catch up, but then at that same thing, they can have those spurts where they're just dry and there's a lid on the basket. So it was back and forth, but it was good to see them fight against a really tough team.
Yeah, I mean, in your role model, Dawn Staley.
Yeah, no, my fellow Philadelphia Eagle fan, Dawn Staley. She obviously is a great coach, and I got to interview her, so I feel like my cool points went up yesterday.
Or down.
Yeah, depending on how you look at it. But yeah.
All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back, Adam Spencer, Saturday Down South. He wrote an article, 3 reasons why Bucky McMillan has been so successful in year 1 at Texas A&M. We'll talk to him about that. Break it all down here on the program. Right now, though, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. There's a car buy, and then there's the Caldwell Country Chevrolet car buying experience, and they have a very strong and committed sales staff with decades of experience with one goal: complete customer satisfaction from all of their awesome clients throughout the years. They'll tell you the same story. They went for a vehicle, they got their vehicle, they enjoyed the purchase, they enjoyed the customer service during, and they enjoy the customer service throughout it. Because when you buy a vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they want to continue that relationship with you. So they're going to continue giving you that free oil change for life. And maybe that's a little bit of a journey for you. Like, I don't know if I can drive all the way there for an oil change. They do have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. They don't want to just make sales, they want to build relationships. It's about a 15-minute drive the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm here to tell you about Fratella Italian Cafe. If anyone knows anything about Italian food, it's me, Billy Lucci. And Fratella has the best Italian food in BCS. Located at 3901 South Texas Avenue, Fratella is known for their handmade pasta dishes and feature lasagna, beef cannelloni, chicken parmesan, chicken fettuccine alfredo, a couple of my favorites, just a big old bowl of plain old spaghetti and some manicotti. Really recommend the manicotti. That's my go-to. And don't walk out of there without trying the fresh, piping hot breadsticks and the homemade in-house cheesecake, which is incredible. It's great for dining in, catering, gift cards, and even shipping, which they do nationwide. Fratella's is Aggie-owned and operated, and it's an official restaurant partner of Texas A&M Athletics. I'll see you there.
All right, we are back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. We go straight to the Buc-ee's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Adam Spencer of Saturday Down South joining us. Wrote a great article on Bucky McMillan. 3 reasons why Bucky has been so successful in year 1 at Texas A&M. Adam, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you? I'm doing great.
Good, man. Hey, so I want to go back to when Buzz left and A&M scrambled to find a coach. What did you think of the hire initially with what was out there about Bucky?
You know, I liked it. I thought it was going to take a heck of a lot longer for him to find any level of success here, but that was simply because of the timing of the hire. Like Buzz Williams left pretty late in the cycle, kind of left Texas A&M in a bad situation there. So, I mean, as far as the hire went, you know, I probably would have rated it middle of the pack in terms of where it was in the SEC and the bigger schools hiring cycle. But that was impressive for the timing that it was. And yeah, I thought that, you know, when he had one player that he kept, you know, from the previous roster, I thought, oh man, here we go. Like you can't judge him in year 1. Like it's almost like a year 0. You know, he's having one heck of a year 0.
Adam, I think it's interesting, too. He's always going to be compared to, or at least this year, going to be compared to what Buzz is doing. And part of that, I think, is unfair because Buzz, throughout his time, it's taking him a couple years to get his system in place. But in today's college athletics, you don't have that same kind of time, which is part of the reason why I think there's a lot more looking down at what's happening at Buzz. What do you think about what's happening at Maryland?
I think it's bad. You know, you're right. Like you don't have time to build a system because you don't generally have players who are around for 3 or 4 years. Like that era of college basketball is for a large part gone. There are still some players that stick around at one school for a long time. JT Toppin at Texas Tech has been there for a few years now. There's some examples of that, and there's some examples of some guys following coaches if they make a change. So that the Kurt Signetti at Indiana, he brought several of his guys from JMU over to help set that culture. But yeah, you got to win, and you got to win right away because these schools are investing a lot into the NIL funds and stuff, and they want to see immediate results for their investment. And when Bucky McMillan is doing that at Texas A&M, Buzz Williams is very much not at Maryland, and he's always going to be directly compared to that. And right now, it looks like Texas A&M made the right decision here.
I want to read the first line. I'll take your article in parts. The Buckyball Revolution, part one of this. It says the most obvious reason for McMillan's success is the complete identity shift brought to Reed Arena. Aesthetically, it's a completely different brand of basketball. And it's even different than what some of the programs that it was compared to. It was compared to Alabama. It was compared to Georgia, at least the way they were playing. There's a similarity in the pace. I get that. But it is a different brand.
Yeah, I mean, he does a lot of fast-paced stuff, and it shows. But the defensive identity is something that I've been impressed with this year. It's not just that Texas A&M is second in the SEC right now, just a tick behind Arkansas in terms of 3-point shooting percentage, but they also keep opposing teams off the 3-point line for the most part. Like they're middle of the pack in they're ninth in 3-point percentage allowed against. And when you're making that many threes, all you have to do is be a middle of the pack defense against the three, and you're going to have an advantage when it comes to most games when you make more threes. Like that's the Boston Celtics strategy under Joe Mazzulla. That's what Nate Oates has done at Alabama. Just make the three and try to make a lot more than your opponent. And Texas A&M, the methodology is there, and they're executing it at a pretty decent level right now in year one.
The one thing that we kind of talked about this topic in the first hour, and I said, I think one of the parts of Bucky that to me is amazing is not only the system, but that's only part of the story. I think buying into a system in a year one where there's nobody there to kind of show you the way, to me is like really the part of his mastery that I'm amazed with. And you talk about some of those veteran mercenaries brought on. They had to buy in. They're only going to be here a year, a couple of those guys, but they had to buy in and lead.
And I think he was almost put in an advantageous situation with the timing of his hire, because he was getting kind of the dregs from the transfer portal and guys who, maybe thought that they would have a bigger market in the portal. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, now there's only basically A&M left among major conference programs that are looking for players. And, so some of these guys that signed on, I think had a chip on their shoulder. And, Rashawn Aggie, I mean, I loved him. I thought he was a great sidekick at USC to Desmond Claude last year. I got to see him play Illinois at Illinois, and he was lights out from three. He was making winning plays. Desmond Claude, I think, had like 30 plus points in that game, so he was kind of doing the Kobe Bryant thing. But Aggie had he looked he was noticeable on the court. So I thought that was a great get for Bucky. Getting Ruben from Spain. He's been lighting it up from three. I mean, I think that's a good identification there too. Go get a guy. All these other teams are getting guys from the pro leagues in Spain, in Europe. So identify what you need. He identified a guy who can shoot lights out from beyond the arc, and that fits his system. And so he brought him in, and we've seen how that's worked out. He's a top 5 shooter in the SEC. So I mean, I just think that when he was put in that position of having to build a roster from scratch and being behind the 8 ball calendar wise, I think he was able to find some guys that really wanted to work and wanted to prove themselves.
Adam, I think it's also interesting the guy that was supposed to be the blockbuster transfer get, Mackenzie Mbako's barely played, and he's not going to play, right? And they're still right now, at least as of today, on top of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, when he went down, I was a little bit worried about the team. I'll be honest. I mean, it took me a while to come around. If I'm being honest, I wasn't out here saying that this was going to work in year one. Like I said, I was almost ready to give him a year zero and just not judge anything that happened this year at all. Especially after that blowout loss to Oklahoma State. That hasn't aged well. The UCF loss has aged a little better because they're dangerous at home and they've pulled off some big wins. But but then these guys just had time to grow, and getting that cohesion took time, and learning the system that none of them have really played before took some time, and now we're seeing the results. I mean, I started coming around on it when they lost at Tennessee, because I thought, even though they lost that game, I thought that they had a heck of a first half in a hostile environment. The veteran play, some of these guys have been around the block. Dominguez has played professionally in Spain. He knows what these environments are like. So I was impressed by that Tennessee loss. And so even when people were saying, well, they haven't beat anybody in the top half of the standings, blah, 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 I was like, well, I picked them to win at Georgia this weekend, and I didn't expect them to win by quite so many. I was impressed by that, but I thought they would win that game, and I've come around, and I've been impressed with what I've seen in this 4-game winning streak here, especially.
The third part, you talked about the cultural synergy, and you put here, there is like a cult-like atmosphere in College Station. McMillan's own words used affectionately. It just fits, right? He gets A&M, and A&M obviously gets him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to embrace the culture there. You guys have a very unique passion in your fan base. We see it all the time in football, and, people like to make fun of it, but, a lot of people would kill for that kind of passion from a fan base and that kind of undying support. So it, just getting that energy, I think Buckyball, the system fits the energy that you guys have in College Station, because the up and down, the fast pace, that just gives, the 12th man in football, that gives, these basketball crazies, it gives them something to cheer about. It's tough to sit down when you're watching Buckyball, because you never know what you're going to miss. And I think that was a great stylistic fit for Texas A&M, much better than the slow, plodding, grinded out pace that Buzz Williams teams play. And when Buzz Williams teams are successful, I mean, that style has worked. It worked at Texas A&M for a couple of years, and so I'm not criticizing that style. I just think that the more up tempo stuff fits what the fan base wants from its basketball team.
Talking to Adam Spencer here. Hey, Adam, with the whole Mediaco situation with Alabama and the other guy who's trying to come back to the NBA, or excuse me, college basketball, I forget his name at the moment. But all these situations, do you think because of it, we're going to see a change in the next year or so to where there are a little bit more, we use guardrails with NIL, but maybe a little bit more structure of who is actually a college athlete and who is not?
Yeah, I think we have to. I mean, there's a hypothetical going around on Twitter today about could Charleston or some school win the national title if they sign Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's I just saw that right before we hopped on here, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, we got to stop something like that from happening. Obviously, that's a hypothetical situation, but when you have a guy like Amari Bailey trying to come back, when you have some guys who have played in the NBA, I would be interested to see what they decide with some of these G League guys, because I would say as long as you haven't played a game in the NBA, maybe you can come back. Or maybe, if you've been drafted into the NBA or played an NBA game, then maybe you can't come back to college. I think that's a common sense rule. These guys who go undrafted and play in the G League, I don't know. But if you've signed an NBA contract, I would say you can't play in college. And I think we need to address the European situation too. We need to set up some top tier leagues. If you've played in La Liga in Spain, the top tier of that, then maybe you can't play college basketball anymore. But if you've played, because the systems are different over there. The pro leagues start when you're 12, it's right. You're playing in a team's developmental academy and stuff. And that shouldn't, I don't think that should count as being a pro athlete, even if you are getting a stipend or something, so I think that there are some common sense ways that we can identify certain leagues that count as pros. And we can say that if you've played in one of those leagues professionally, then you can't play college basketball anymore.
do you think we're going to see more, though, this year before the tournament, like of players magically finding a way back to college?
This year, yeah, I think we are. I think that these coaches especially coaches who like are facing pressure to succeed in the NCAA tournament, like Nate Oates, even like a week before he signed Bediako back to the team, he was lamenting the James Najee situation at Baylor and saying like this takes away from high school spots, and he used to be a high school coach and he found that sad, but then he goes and signs a G League player, and like I'm not criticizing him for that. The precedent has been set that that's legal, and I mean, depending on the outcome of the Bediako case, but there's guys that need to win to keep their jobs, and so yeah, I do think that we'll see some more of these G League guys, and even we'll see what this Amari Bailey case happens, but yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of that this year, and then hopefully they can find a way to put a stop to it.
Excuse a dumb question, but how would they still do it though? We're in February. Like, if you're a student athlete, don't you have to be enrolled in classes?
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of out the window too now. Like Carson Beck basically said the quiet part loud before the national championship game. They're like, how are you balancing classes? He's like, I graduated 2 years ago. It's like, okay, so you just kind of said what we all kind of knew, but I don't think many of these guys are in classes. So we have to, if we're gonna pretend that this is a student athlete run organization still, then we also have to put guardrails in place about like how many credit hours do they need to be taking and stuff like that. So everything's a mess right now. Like, I don't know, like Illinois has, half of the European All-Star team playing for Brad Underwood this year, and they've been pretty good. And they added somebody back in January, I think early January. So, I mean, maybe that was at the start of the semester that they were able to do that. But, maybe there's a school out there that's on trimesters that can add a guy or something. I don't know what the logistics are behind that. But if there's a way, I mean, Alabama just added Bediako, so the semester had already pretty much started at Alabama there when that happened. So, I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way.
Adam, great stuff, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoy the game tomorrow night.
Appreciate you, bro. Adam Spencer there on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with On TexAgs Today. That's next on TexAgs. I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal, or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar. I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going, you use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst. Back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Justin's got on TexAgs today.
TexAgs today's got a lot, so I'll start it off. So stay with me here. We got Moving Goalposts came out this morning. Billy and Amanda talking about position group strengths, power rankings of the SEC and coordinators there. So that's out there. It came out this morning. You got later today, you're going to have Terrence Keel interview. Obviously, Aggie baseball starts in a week and a half. And then in 2 days, Trisha Ford's squad starts the softball season. So stay tuned for that softball preview. And then basketball tomorrow, we're going to have some Olin Buchanan and Tom Schuberth advances and scouting reports later today.
Awesome stuff. David Edmonds says, why does it bother people if someone goes to the NBA or NFL and comes back to play college?
Yeah, there's a lot of problem with that for me. I feel like once you're gone, you're gone. I don't know why you're coming back. You did your time, and yeah, you decide to take that leap to go to the next level.
But why does it bother you?
I feel like I wish I could back it up with stats or something, but it feels wrong. It feels like gosh, I don't know. Now I'm stumbling, but
should you be able to go play club baseball with 12, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess because here's why, Dave. It's supposed to be amateur athletics. I say that kind of loosely now because we know about NIL. It's supposed to be about your education. Because I would love to go play high school wrestling right now. Actually, I'd get destroyed. But, you know, my point is, like, I already graduated. I understand. And maybe that's why but once you take a step to professional status, I don't think you go back to college playing status. I just don't think, and maybe because I'm old and I need to adapt because I don't have a strong why. Well, it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because we've never done it before. Well, now we're doing it. Well, I don't like it. Why? Well, because you're a professional. You're not a kid anymore.
Exactly. That's what I would feel. I'd be like, I'm an adult now. I'm in the NBA. I'm in the NFL. If I'm going back to college, I'm like taking that step back.
But then somebody could say to you, but you've got people who played Major League Baseball that came and played college football later. Well, I think it's different because they're different sports. We can't answer that in 30 seconds. So what we'll do, Dave and Evan, we'll come back to it at some point. You're listening to the TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are back here on TexAgs Live. Why did I do that accent? I don't know. We're presented by David Gardner, Steelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Maybe because I heard Toby Keith and I was like, big Toby Keith guy. I wish you were still with us. Great music. Anyway, let's go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We talked to our buddy Justin Lanham. Justin, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, especially whenever I get to hear country David Nuño. Big fan.
Big fan. I wish I would have had more country artists at the Grammy Awards this week. Anyway, I want to ask you something. I'm going to talk Aggie basketball with you. But before we do Aggie basketball, David Edmond asked this about why we have such a problem with professional athletes going back to college when people in the workforce do it all the time. Do you have a reason why you're so against it, if you are against it, or are you cool with it?
Man, I think the reason I'm so against it, and you probably have to understand, which I know you do, but understand my background of, having coached high school basketball, and I just feel like it's taking opportunities away from high school kids. It's like those guys that are going back to it, they have already had their opportunity, right? And so to me, it's like, hey, let's give these high school kids a chance, and I think it kind of penalizes them a little bit, which I just hate, and so that's kind of my reasoning for it. Look, it is what it is now. It doesn't seem like there's too many rules, and even when there are rules, they can't get enforced, and so it is what it is. But that's just my whole reasoning behind it, is just for the high school kids. I just hate some of those guys missing out on opportunities.
So I brought up some of my reasons because I want it to be students, and Dave had a great response to that. It's like, it hasn't been about students from the NCAA's perspective for years. And while I agree with that, you're asking my opinion of why. And I do want it to be about academics. I'm not saying you need to go be a 4.0 student in order to play college athletics, but I think we're seeing the erosion of amateurism. And I personally, as an old man, as almost a 50-year-old, I have a problem with that, right? Like I have a problem with the traditional student not being able to play. I think to your point, being a coach, the 18-year-olds that there's going to be less place for when you think about college athletics, the way I came up, you think about 18 to 22-year-olds with an occasional 25-year-old, Rashawn Agee shot out, occasional, guy who played minor league baseball, but not where it's becoming the majority. And to me, there's also a lack of connection with it as well. We want to have a connection with our athletes that we see develop through their freshman, sophomore, junior year, not that left for a few years and came back.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of it. Especially for the fan base, the attachment to it. You don't get to see these guys grow up in the program as much anymore, and so you don't have this time to watch this guy develop and watch him really become ingrained with the university and love his university. I think a lot of people that I talk to, that's a big problem for people, is they just feel like these people are, these kids or, adults are coming and playing, and they don't really truly love the university. And I think that's hard for people to swallow. I'm not saying they don't love the university, but they didn't come because it was about Texas A&M or it was because it was about another university. I think that's sometimes what's so tough is now it's come down to the dollar. How much can you offer me? What can you do for me? And it's this transactional relationship instead of the transformational relationship. And that's a big piece of it. And I think that's hard for the average fan to kind of swallow that.
Yeah. And look, I think the older you are, the more problems you probably have because you remember when you were in college. And so in 15 years, these guys, Ruben Dominguez, Rashawn Agee, this is going to be what they kind of look back to. And this is the way it was at its best. And if you look at viewership, at least from a college football perspective, viewership's up in this current climate.
Yep. Yeah, and look, you can't tell me that the product's probably not better. Like, I definitely think it probably is, right? You've got older guys playing, a little bit more mature. It's probably closer to the NBA game in the sense of just skill and development there, versus, some of these teams. Like, it's hard for a guy like A&M gets a guy out of Denton Geyer this past year that's a stud, and he can barely sniff the floor right now because you've got these older guys. And so, to even, obviously you've got somebody like a Boozer and you got, BYU and Kansas. Like, you've got these few guys, but there's only the top 50 or so guys that are really coming into these programs as freshmen now and really impacting. And so do I think that probably helps the product? Yes, because you have more older, mature guys playing that are more developed skill-wise, more physical. So sure, the product might be a little bit better, but I also understand the older crowd that wants to, yell at the sky and say, this is not how it was done before. I completely understand it. But I also get your point, like a Ruben Dominguez, like you said, or Aggie is going to look back and say, hey, this is just how it was whenever I was growing up. And when they're 50, 60 years old, that's what's going to be normal to them.
Yeah, and by the way, I think you could fix some of this, not all of it, some of it, by saying, all right, you're a student athlete, so if you played pro or not, you still got to take 12 hours minimum this semester. You got to go to class too, which I know is not enforceable. But like actually being a student athlete, meaning you have to go to class and have to be taking X amount of hours to be a college athlete, that's how you would fix it. Just going back to college and saying you're a student athlete and not having any classes to show for it, then now we're talking about a minor leagues. You could just play arena league, Canadian football for that matter.
Exactly. And I don't know if it got taken out of context or if it was like spot on, but and kind of what you were just talking about to your point is like, I remember hearing Carson Beck, leading up to the college championship, and he's talking about like, no, I don't go to class, and so I think that's hard for people to swallow. It's like, wait, you are in college. Like, what is going on here? So I think just the whole dynamic has shifted. And look, the one thing I will say is like props to some of these coaches that are trying to do it the right way and like trying to figure it out. Like they have a really, really tough job. Like the whole entire staff has just a really hard job of like trying to navigate it the right way. While maybe some people aren't playing the same game that they're playing, like that's really hard. When everybody's not playing by the same rules and it's kind of wild, wild west, like that's really hard. So props to these guys. Like I know it's tough on them. It's just tough on the program sometimes. So props to them for trying to do it the right way.
All right, the Bediako situation, which A&M is about to face him, and defensively he's certainly solid, and Alabama hasn't done great with him. I think they're 1-2 since he's joined the lineup. That being said, how do you feel about a team starting SEC play or a couple of games into SEC play, 20-something days into it, be able to add a key player like that, just in general, not just Alabama, but like in pros, you can add players, but usually the pool in the middle of the season is a lot smaller. And I'm not saying that the pool is big, but it just, what do you think about a team being able to change their roster with such a dynamic player so late into the season, if you will?
Yeah, and to go back, like, used to, like if we're talking about what it was like before and what it is now, like used to, if you're adding a guy, it's a walk-on, right? Like it's somebody within the student body that you're pulling off, the streets and saying, hey, throw on an A&M jersey. But now the fact that you're getting a guy that, and I'm just speaking on the Alabama situation, but you're getting a guy that used to play for Alabama, that went into, that's played some professional ball now, in the G League and things like that. Like, that's so crazy to me. And what's honestly crazy to me too, outside of like what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. What's so crazy to me is like, that's a hard dynamic even for Alabama. Like I'm just thinking of it again from a coaching perspective of adding a player like that mid-season, mid-conference play when these games like really, really matter. That's really hard to do, to throw a guy into the lineup that hasn't been there from day one. I understand he had already still been playing basketball, so his conditioning is probably fine, but that's really hard to do. But to the other side of it, with teams that are preparing for him, like that's tough too. Like you are going into games like you haven't seen this guy play. You obviously are probably pulling film from maybe what he's done in the G League, maybe what he did back whenever he was at Alabama before. And so, look, the thing that stinks too about it is, like, I know there's probably going to be a ruling after this A&M game. And so what does that mean? Like, is there going to have to be any forfeitures? Or are they just going to let them just do, just say, it was what it was? Like, who knows? And that's just so tough to swallow because you just, again, what I said earlier, it's like what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And unfortunately, nobody knows the rules and it's just the wild, wild west.
By the way, I don't think there should be forfeitures, in my opinion, if a judge allowed it. I mean, it is what it is. That's just my opinion of it. That being said, and I wish they didn't allow it, for the record. I do want to read this text from John in Cyprus, going back to me saying that they need to go to class. He goes, and pass your classes because you and I as students would get kicked out if we didn't pass. Amen to that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's, again, just what I think so many fans love about the college game is that it's college. It's not the professional, it's not professional sports. And I get that this is just completely different world that we're living in. And these coaches and these staffs are having to navigate it, and props to them again. But I just wish that it could be like it was a little bit more. I just don't like what it's changing into. But again, this is where we're at. Until somebody steps up, until somebody starts making decisions and then everybody can kind of be on a level playing field, like it's going to be what it is.
Justin, what about, okay, let's actually talk basketball here. We're 10 minutes into it and we're just talking, trying to fix all the college athletics like we know anything. The ability for this team to score, talking about A&M basketball, in bunches the way they do. When I say bunches, that used to mean like 8 points in a row. This team will score 20, they'll go out to a 22-2 lead to start off a game. They constantly go on these runs. What that does to the psyche of the opponent.
Oh, yeah, just the ability to break them down mentally just so early on in a game. And that's just the ability for A&M to what they do, putting pressure on teams. I mean, when you are extending your defense for 94 feet and you're pressuring the ball, they do such a good job just on the ball, tracing the ball, getting up under people's chins, just making guys feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to feel that way. Like, that's why you get a guy like Hubbard from Mississippi State being like, man, when are y'all going to stop doing this? Like, that's when you feel like you have broken the psyche of a team, like, that's got to be a great feeling. And to do that so early on in the game, I know Georgia made runs. Obviously, basketball is a game of runs. But when you're able to kind of do that and impose your will, and like Rashawn Agee said, like, we want to take the fight to them. That's what this Aggie basketball team is doing. They are taking the fight to them. Nobody's taking the fight to A&M. Like, they are taking it. They're imposing their will on teams right now. And I know there's going to be a time that maybe this A&M basketball team does get punched in the face. But I will say that even in the Georgia game, whenever they did get a few punches thrown at them, they responded. And so that just shows the maturity of this team. And I think, again, we want to talk about the transfer portal and all the things. Like, this team is older. And I think that obviously has its perks of just being a mature team. And so A&M is definitely a team that is going to impose their will on people.
And one of their oldest players, if not their oldest, is Rashawn Agee, who was just the co-SEC Player of the Week. We knew his impact was going to be huge. He has been significantly better than I thought. I thought he'd be, obviously, if not their best player, one of their 2 or 3 best players, and he would lead off the court. He would be a spiritual leader as well as a floor general. The guy's doing it all.
Oh, he's doing everything. Look, I had talked to Luke kind of early on whenever he was watching some practices, and he was telling me how special he was, and I just didn't know, with him being a little bit undersized, what kind of impact he was going to have. But his impact has been just phenomenal. What he does, he's so physical. He makes up that size difference with his physicality, with being able to get into people's bodies, just being so strong and aggressive. His footwork is unbelievable. Georgia, every time he got a touch, on the block or even kind of mid-post or, heck, even sometimes out on the wing, they wouldn't even let him back people down. They would send a guy at him. They were sending 2 at him. And while I was watching the game, the old John Wooden quote came to me, and it's like, be quick but don't hurry. And that's what, whenever I watch Agee play, like, that's what I think about. Like, He's so quick. He makes plays, fast. He's so good at reading the floor, but he's never in a hurry. And sometimes, you get bigs that catch the ball on the block and they just want to hurry and get a shot up. But Aggie, he's methodical. He takes his time, and he's going to get the right shot, and he's going to impose his will down on the block and get what he wants. And then whenever he doesn't have it, he's such a good passer. His vision, he's able to find the guards on the wing. Whenever you have a big that's a capable passer like that, that's why you have such good spacing on the floor. And then obviously you have guards that can knock down shots, and that's why we're seeing this Aggie team that's, scoring 88, 90, 92 points, in SEC play, which is just incredible.
Justin, is it fair to say that everybody thinks this team is better than we thought, but just how good is still in the, but I still got to see what they do against Bama, and I got to see what they do against Florida. There's still a guy, for most people, still a got to wait to see.
Yeah, and look, if I'm in that locker room, if I'm like, the coaching staff, if I'm in that locker room, I love that. Let me just keep saying that about us. Keep letting us have a chip on our shoulder. To me, I don't like being the front runner. I like people just always kind of doubting you. That's just kind of the mentality that I've just kind of grown to love. And so I think, it bodes well for this A&M team because that's kind of what they've been. They've kind of been doubted. They've kind of been looked over. And so you don't want that narrative to really change. I mean, obviously going into the tournament, maybe you would want people to say oh man, this team is for real. But the fact that people still keep doubting them, that's great. I think that's what Bucky's probably, had his whole life. Maybe people doubting him coming from high school into Stanford, and then Stanford stepping up to the big leagues, into SEC play. People are probably doubting him, and so let it be that. Let them keep having this chip on their shoulder, and I think it's going to bode well for them.
All right, so what are the keys to beating a very good Bama team that has had some struggles recently?
Yeah, I think Bucky said it in his press conference, got to guard the ball, guard your man one-on-one ball, I think is going to be crucial, especially whenever you talk about an Alabama team that has really good guards, that has really good skill players. I think that's one of the key factors. I think, A&M the last couple games has shot the ball extremely, extremely well from the free throw line. I think if you can take care of kind of some of those categories, right? Rebounding the ball, making shots at the free throw line, doing all the little things that you do, those add up to the big things. And so keep doing what you do. Obviously, if they can have a great shooting night again, obviously that's going to carry them. But I think against this Alabama team, I really want to see what they can do defensively. And that's just going to be, again, guarding full court, putting pressure on the ball, not letting them get comfortable. And that's honestly, David, that's what they've done all year. They have not allowed teams to get comfortable to doing what they want to do. And since really that Oklahoma State game, I haven't seen them look uncomfortable. There's been times where they've been punched in the mouth, but they've responded. But for the most part, again, I've said this phrase multiple times, but it feels like they have just continued to impose their will on teams. And if they continue to do that, I like their chances every night.
Is there any doubt in your mind this team's a tournament team?
No, definitely not. As much as you have doubters that are saying, well, what are they going to do against Florida? What are they going to do against Alabama? This team has proven to me that they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And for the people that are saying, well, haven't played top 25 teams, who have they played? Who have they played? We just keep hearing that narrative. I don't care. They have shown me night in and night out that they're going to compete, whether that's on the road, whether that's at home, whether that's at a neutral site, they're going to compete. And Alabama, Florida, we've seen in conference play, we've seen how teams are competing within the SEC. Teams are beating other teams up. It's you might have a Missouri team come in and upset somebody. You might have an Ole Miss team, Mississippi State. It doesn't matter. And so to me, the fact that they have kind of shown that they're going to go toe-to-toe with Tennessee at Tennessee, they're going to beat Auburn on the road. To me, that's enough. And obviously, there's still a lot of season left to be played. But to me, they've shown enough to me that they're a tournament team.
Justin, we appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you, David.
Justin Lanham there on the Bubby's Catering and Bartending Hotline. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, we're going to tap dance. That's what we do. We tap. I actually have a couple more thoughts on, because I've been giving it thought, David Edmonds' point, because I think David Edmonds' point is actually good. Like, why do we have a problem with it? But I have some thoughts of why I have a problem with it, and we'll see if I can actually put them together, because they're all over the place. But I look at, I'll just say it now, and then we can kind of chew on it in the next segment. I look at, if you make the decision to go pro, and you are given the opportunity to go pro, it's like getting your GED. You don't get to go back to high school because you didn't graduate. It's like that's the diploma. That is the signature of that you've moved on to the next level. And once you've moved on to the next level, that's it. No hay más. At least when it comes to playing that. So that's just my thoughts on that. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll talk about that on the other side. When it comes to preserving your farmer or rancher's legacy, it's not about capturing pretty pictures, posting it on your social media, on your TikTok, whatever. It is about keeping the essence of your land, of your family, and passing it on to the generations that will inherit it. It's about transferring those values that you built your operation on for the next generation. So if you got awesome land and you want to tell the story about how you found it, how your parents found it, your grandparents found it, and how you built your operation on there, you should reach out to Chance McClain. If you've got a family, and I think most people here have a family, I know we got some loners out there, but if you've got a family, you got to tell that family story for the next generation and the generation after that. Because if you don't, it'll be lost, right? You got to have it. And this is the most awesome way to do it, is by having a 2-hour documentary by my buddy Chance McClain at Heritage Films. He is a dear friend, not just a client. He's a guy that I've known for over 20 years, who I trust, and he is just the best at telling people stories. Check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, or call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Hey friends, David Nuño here for Prize Picks. They're back on TexAgs, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. And Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Football season's here, basketball coming up, baseball, you name it. You go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and start having some fun watching sports, making some money on there. And you can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Remember, they'll give you $50 in lineups once you play $5 lineups on Prize Picks. And they have the new thing. It's called It's Good to Be Right campaign, and they're kicking off the upcoming NFL season with their bold new campaign, It's Good to Be Right. The seasonal long push celebrates the thrills of getting it right, from the perfect prediction to winning your Prize Picks lineups. Prize Picks is good to be right. All right, I need Nick. I need Justin involved in this. So a lot of discussion on like, why do we care about, professionals coming back and playing college sports, right? And I've given several reasons, and I think I have one way to fix it. Matt Tackle says, how do you put the genie back in the bottle? I've got it, guys. You want to protect?
Let's hear it.
When I say this, my ideas are terrible, by the way. You want to protect amateurism? You make football a school at A&M, like engineering, like you make a major Nick's face is not, he's not appreciative of this. You make it a school where they say, well, you can always go back to school and keep getting degrees. Gotcha. Cool. I get it. That's true. But when you graduate with your engineering degree, you don't go back to engineering class. You want to add to it, you got to go somewhere else. You got to go to psychology. You got to go to whatever, right? Like geosciences. I'm just making things up. Industrial distribution. Shout out to the twins. Whatever it may be, right? So you make it its own major minor. And when you're done, you're done. And the difference is there's no necessarily diploma that comes with football. Once you graduate to the next level, which is professional sports, you don't come back to that. Once you graduate and become a lawyer, you don't come back to get more lawyer degrees. I don't know, maybe you do. I don't think you do, right? No. You add to it in other arsenals. All right, you want to come back? You got to play badminton now. Sorry. You got to play tennis. You can still be an amateur athlete, quote unquote, but you got to do the other sports. That's how you fix it. Nick, tell me I'm smart or I'm dumb.
Well, we were discussing something similar to that back here. I just said, why don't they, they're designated athletes when they come to Texas A&M to play football. And while they're here, if they're not interested in earning a degree in anything, they're going all in on, playing NFL football. Why can't they get take finance classes, learn how to pay tax? I don't know, simple stuff that would help you in your everyday life when you get out. So at least you learn something while you're here, all the while maybe being able to, put more time into being a athlete at A&M. And then I agree with you. Once you're done, you're done. You got, what has OB said? You got 5 years to play for. I like that. I like that a lot. Even regardless of how old you are. Maybe you come in a little later if you're coming from overseas. I don't know with the whole pro leagues over there, but I like the 5 years to play for, and I don't hate it. Just if you really want to go all in on playing professional football, and these leagues require you to play X amount of time in college, then get a certificate while you're here on financial, whatever. You get what I'm saying, but I don't hate it. We're kind of thinking the same way.
Or completely different. Because I'm talking about the school of football. What's your major, David? Football? That's your major? Yeah. I got a class. Elko teaches it. Football 101. It'd be great. Come on. No?
It's fun. I don't hate it.
It's the best idea in the world right now. Right now, at this moment.
At this very moment, I can't offer anything much better. It's okay.
Yeah, we might be the only show arguing this topic because I do think that the comment is true. Why do we have a problem with it? I'll tell you part of the reason I have a problem with it is if you've got kids that want to play college sports at A&M, right? And a guy who got 3 sacks in the NFL decides, you know what, I'm not playing that much. I got 3, which would be a lot, actually. I'm going to go back to A&M and play. By the way, I want to be very clear. Whatever's going to help our institution, my morals are not for sale, but my football morals are. Whatever's going to help my institution, I'm okay with, right? If Coach Oko finds a way to get things done, I'm all in. I'm just saying for the health of the future of what we built an empire on, right? I just worry about what the direction it's going to go in 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, I believe we're going to talk to Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. You can also catch his work at ESPN 97.5 in Houston, John and Lance in the Morning, and an institution in Houston radio. We'll talk to Lance Zierlein about the 3 NFL first-round picks from the Aggies next on TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Bartending Hotline. Talk to our buddy Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. Of course, you can catch him on Houston Radio. Lance, good morning, buddy. What's up?
What's up, Nuño? How we doing?
I'm good, man. How have you been?
I'm doing good. I'm just hanging in there. Lake Charles, getting ready to head back. Got done doing a radio show. I'm up in my hotel room before this 11 o'clock checkout, getting ready to watch a safety from USC. Drive back to Houston, get to my office, and write up Anthony Hill from the Longhorns and 3 more players, and then I might see my kids today, and then we'll see what happens.
Lance, I was trying to tell the story earlier. Remind me, you'll have a better memory of this. I feel like you told us on TexAgs before you actually had written it, maybe I'm wrong here, about Kenyon Green to the Texans years ago. Am I right about that?
That's correct. Yeah, I didn't know it. I just said that was in my mock draft, I had him there.
Well, the reason I bring that up is you are the first and the only, to my knowledge, to have 3 Aggies in the first round right now in your most recent mock draft. Talk a little bit about Chase Basantis, who's kind of moved up the boards.
Yeah, Chase is really good tape. I watched him. I'm a member of the selection committee for the Joe Moore Awards, which goes to the top offensive line in college football. And so, watch the Aggies offensive line. And Basantis, to me, was clearly, for me, he was the best offensive lineman when I watched him as a collective group. But, I didn't spend a lot of time on him individually. So then when I went back and watched him individually, which happened when I was in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl last week, when I watched him individually, I was even more impressed. He's a really good technician, uses good hands. He's got plays with a good finisher's demeanor, a good, toughness, strong in terms of his ability to create movement as a run blocker. He's got a little attitude to him. I think that he's got shorter arms, which could hurt him. I mean, it's what could keep him out of first-round contention. But you're going to have this year, there's a need for guards. And so that could be something that pushes him up the board a little bit because of this desire to get your hands on guards this year, because guards are a big need across the league. So I just, for me, I think Chase is he's going to carry one of my top 50 grades this year, probably more like closer to top 40 grades for the year, somewhere 40 to 45. And, it's a need position. He's a very, very good football player, so I wouldn't completely rule him out of the first. I think he's a little bit of a long shot, but I put him in there as a need because I know he's a good football player.
Talking to Lance Zierlein here on TexAgs Live. Lance, what about Cassius Howell? What did he kind of hit your radar of a guy that, he's got a chance to be a top 3 round pick, and now you have him in the first at the 23rd going to the Eagles?
Yeah, I've got a second-round grade on him, but I also realize that pass rushers get pushed up the board. And, he's not a great run defender. That's not his thing. And he's actually shorter than you anticipate. He's not as long-armed. He's got actually pretty short arms. I think that's the one concern for him is his measurables. It feels like he's a longer player when you're watching him on television or on tape. But those measurables are something that kind of will hurt you with certain teams. But he can really get up the edge. He's got the ability to bend and get around the corner. He's got some rush, and while the run defense isn't isn't where it needs to be right now, I think his ability to rush and bend and get after the pocket is something that gives him value. Now, it was a little inconsistent against some of the better teams, so I think that there's still room for refinement with his hands, refinement with his moves, and really his rush approach. How you're going to set tackles up is as big a part as how you execute your rush plan. How you want to approach it. It's a lot like being a pitcher where you're trying to set the hitter up, so you'll throw certain things to set up something later in the count. That's the same thing with being a pass rusher now. You can't just try to run around the corner as fast as you can. That just doesn't work a lot of times. So I think Cassius needs, Nick Skirton, to me, Skirton last year had a good rush plan. He understood how to rush the passer. He wasn't the twitchiest rusher, but he had a good rush plan. Cassius just doesn't really have a good rush plan, but that can come with time. Like you can get that figured out with more coaching. So for me, he is the type of developmental pass rusher who can give you some snaps early on as a rookie on pass rush situations, and you just want him to get better and better at that craft as you get him stronger and more physical at the point of attack so he can eventually become a 3-down player.
Talking to Lance Zierlein. Lance, let's talk about KC Concepcion, a guy who really completely changed the offensive identity for A&M. You've paired him up with Mario Craver. You have him going 30th to Denver. What kind of grade did you give him? Where do you see him going?
Well, I gave him a clean first-round grade. The hands aren't always great. He'll have too many drops, but that really, to me, that's secondary to the fact that he's one of the best that I've studied so far. And I've studied the top wide receivers in this draft. And for me, Concepcion probably separates out of break points better than anyone in the draft. He's very smart at creating leverage to get you leaning in one direction, and then when he breaks the other direction, he's so sudden with so much twitchy burst that he creates big throwing windows. And he's a very, very difficult player to guard one-on-one because of that twitchiness and that explosiveness. And when you look at NFL wide receivers and what wins and what works, getting wide open in opening, easy throwing windows for your quarterback is very important. We saw that with Tank Dell with the Houston Texans, came from University of Houston. Well, Tank went in the third round, but he is just so sudden out of his breaks that he got wide open and helped make C.J. Stroud the offensive rookie of the year. They had a great connection. I look at Concepcion, and I think he is a bigger version of Tank Dell and with maybe even a little more top-end explosiveness. So, I look at him, and where wide receivers are always a big need now in the first round. Once you get past Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, you get past the Ohio State Carnell Tate, you get past Mekhi Lemon. Once you get past those three, I think Concepcion immediately is in the conversation for next man up. Denzel Boston from Washington, Chris Brazell from Tennessee, those are bigger guys. But if you're looking for somebody to play in the slot, he can play outside or in the slot and create easy opportunities quickly because he can separate quickly and get open quickly, then that's your guy. I think Concepcion is your guy. And I think I know a couple of NFL teams that are very high on him. I know a couple that have him in the second round. But when it's all said and done, he's going in the first.
Lance, I'm going to ask you about somebody that I don't know how much attention you paid to him, but just maybe you have. Nate Borkature had a good week last week. And just have you scouted him at all? Have you heard anything about him? I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be drafted. Maybe he will be, but has he at least caught your interest?
Yeah, absolutely. Nate, I wrote up Nate back in December, and I was told by the guy who runs the Senior Bowl that I needed to, he wasn't on their initial list, but he said, that's a guy that's probably going to end up at the game. You need to write him up. So I was like, great. And so I looked at him, and I loved Nate Borkature's tape. He is such a dog. He is not the biggest guy, but he's physical all the way to his size. In other words, there's some guys who don't play to their size. He punches above his class weight. The way he scrapped with Reuben Bain was really, really impressive on the limited reps they had. It told me a lot about his mentality, his core strength, his toughness, his willingness as a blocker. So he's not the biggest guy. He's in the 240s. But when you watch him block, like he blocks like he's 258 pounds. He's got really sticky hands. He just doesn't drop passes. And at the Senior Bowl, he had a couple catches where I'm like, I'm not surprised by that. He got oohs and ahs because he lifted it, he picked it off, right over a guy's head and made some really difficult catches. He didn't have a lot of catch production, but I thought there's more meat on the bone for him as a wide receiver than the Aggies got out of him. I think he's a better athlete in space than some people give him credit for. I know he has automatic hands when the ball is thrown to him, and I think he can end up being a more impactful pass catcher as a pro than he was in college. And then the way he blocks, you may not want to always line him up right on the line because he's not 255 pounds, but you can have him near the line helping with your running game, and your running game is going to get better because of Nate Borkature. I'm a big fan of the way he plays football and his mentality.
Lance, the Ags went a few years without having several guys drafted. Last year, obviously, they had a good first-round pick, and the 3 guys drafted in the first couple days. This year, maybe you get 8, 9, 10 guys drafted. What do you think about what Elko's doing with stockpiling this talent and also developing this talent?
Well, it's such a different, David, it's such a different animal now because, two of your wide receivers, Craver next year, Concepcion this year, came from other schools, and that's going to be, it's really going to be balancing. You don't want to be fully portal because that becomes too expensive. You still have to draft and develop your own. So I think what it looks like is Elko's got has a nice feel and understanding for finding the right guys in the portal, making the right evaluations for players who are maybe underutilized. You want to find guys who are underutilized at other schools, not, the guys that you have to pay the most money to who are just basically, they're basically guns for hire, because sometimes those guys don't have the mentality that you're looking for. They're not team oriented. They're me oriented. And so I think having a nice blend of smart portal evaluations, being smart with your money, which is, kind of necessary in this economy, and then being able to evaluate high school players and develop them from the ground floor up, the Trey Zunes, that's still incredibly important as well, because you need to have guys who are with your program. And I think especially on the offensive line, you want that continuity. You want as many guys on your offensive line to play as many years together as possible. Oregon had Oregon went deep in the playoffs. They have 3 different starters. Their left tackle, their right tackle, and their left guard all came from different schools. So that's going to be the reality of what we see. But I still think having guys play together for 2 and 3 years together has a lot of value in terms of brotherhood, playing for each other, being able to fight through adversity. I think those are all very important things to keep in mind.
Lance, last thing for you. I know you have Fernando Mendoza going number 1 overall to Las Vegas. What kind of NFL pro do you think he'll be? I know he's number 1, but does his game translate?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I didn't expect to like him as much as I did, but when I watched him on tape, I was a big fan. I think the one concern you have is he's not very pocket mobile, meaning he doesn't really slide around the pocket when pressure's in to find new launch points. Like Ty Simpson's actually really, really good at that. It's sliding in the pocket, keeping his eyes up, moving seamlessly around to find his launch points and stay away from, foot traffic. That's not really a strength of Mendoza's. He'll sit tight and make a throw with people in his face, and sometimes that can work against you. Once the pressure gets into the pocket, he's not a very escape-ready quarterback from an athletic standpoint, so that's a problem too. So you have to protect him. Protection must be a priority for him to reach his potential. But he throws, David, with incredible accuracy and placement. He is a very poised player. He has a good understanding of how to attack defenses, both man defenses, when to get the ball out from a timing standpoint, where the placement needs to be, how to throw with touch, attacking zones, which there's a lot of college quarterbacks who are intimidated by throwing into the middle of zones. That's not the case with Mendoza. So I think from a pure football quarterbacking standpoint, he's got some of the elements I saw with Joe Burrow when he was coming out of LSU, maybe not with the same level of talent around him at the wide receiver position. But he's got some similar, his arm's not big. Joe Burrow's arm's not big. They're both incredibly accurate in terms of passers. They both throw with timing. They both understand the game. It's just Joe was a more mobile quarterback, which is why Joe got a grade of 7.0 from me, and Mendoza gets a grade of 6.7, which is like a level lower. But I think he's a legit quarterback, but you have to protect him or he may not reach his potential.
Lance, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Safe driving, buddy.
You got it. Thanks, David.
Thank you. That's Lance Zierlein, the best. Appreciate his time here on the program. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with the final segment here on TexAgs Live. Final segment of the program, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Justin going to close this out with some thoughts. Justin?
Yeah, so I was going to discuss, because the Super Bowl is this Sunday.
It is?
It is.
It feels like nobody cares about this year's Super Bowl. And it's not because of Bad Bunny. I'm saying in general, like, I feel like nobody cares about the matchup. Nick, do you care about this matchup at all?
No, not really.
I'm going to watch, because I always watch. It's like it's a holiday.
Well, that's why I'm here, because I agree. I feel like nobody's really talking about it. I feel like there's a lot of indifference, a lot of
Pro Bowl just happened, right?
Pro Bowl is happening this week.
Oh, wait. So how does it work? When is the Pro Bowl?
The Pro Bowl games, I think, start today. And it's just like skills competitions.
So there's not a Pro Bowl anymore?
I think they play a flag football game.
Okay. When's the last time anybody, you were probably not even born, that anybody watched the Pro Bowl?
I used to watch the Pro Bowl.
I don't think I ever did.
I definitely did as a kid. The last time I remember like anything from a Pro Bowl was when Matt Schaub won the MVP of a Pro Bowl.
No way.
That was in 2009.
I do remember that, yeah.
Okay, that's how long it's been since I think I've actually paid attention to the Pro Bowl. And there was a time that the NBA All-Star Game was must-watch television for me, right? Like, I had to watch that, and the dunk contest. There was a good dunk contest a couple years ago that I paid attention to that was really good, but for the most part, they all suck. Who was the player recently that said, what's his name from Denver? Who was like, I'm going to take a vacation next time because if these guys aren't going to take it serious, why am I here?
It was, I saw that too. His name
Jamal Murray.
Maybe.
To me, it just doesn't make sense to play a all-star game for football. You know what I mean? Just too much risk involved. But basketball and baseball makes sense.
It was Jamal Murray. I'm never wrong. Anyway, except when I'm wrong. All right. You actually, I stole your time. What did you had a thought?
No, yeah, for those that are indifferent about the Super Bowl this week, if you want to cheer for someone, you have a former person that worked at A&M and Clint Kubiak, who's the current offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks.
And isn't he the front runner for the job?
He will be the Las Vegas Raiders head coach.
Has he already accepted that?
It's not official, but it's pretty much official, unofficially official. But if you want to cheer for somebody that repped the maroon and white, he will be on the sidelines for the Seattle Seahawks this week in the Super Bowl, which he's done a really good job.
Yeah, he has, and obviously he's about to coach probably Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, Mendoza.
Yeah, it's I'm surprised, and maybe because I'm not on Twitter like I used to be, like how little Super Bowl buzz there's been, like very little.
I will say that as of yesterday started like media week, so maybe it's just going to build up a little bit more and a little bit more because we're getting people interviewed and stuff like that. But you're right, it seems pretty dormant this year.
Well, I mean, no Patrick Mahomes, and if you like him or hate him, it's a story, right?
Yeah.
And
no Eagles.
No, nobody cares about the Eagles. No Texans. Nobody expected that either. I just think like I think the Patriots, if they weren't the Patriots, would be kind of a cool story, right? Like I think people would be like, that's kind of a cool story. The Seahawks on the other side, like how many people paid attention to them this year? I mean, they're obviously one of the best teams in the league for a reason. So anyway, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Tuesday. So here's the agenda for tomorrow. I know we have John Harris. I know we have Pat Henry. I know we have Trisha Ford in studio. Softball season starts, friends. I know we have Recruiting Country, guest TBD, and the great Tom Schubert. That's what we got tomorrow, so it'll be a fun show. Thank you to everybody watching and listening. We will see you all mañana.